Chapter 2550. Those clothes. Obviously, Yu Xiangwan also recognized the origin of the clothes. They seemed to be the clothes of the Greater One sect. Both of them saw the surprise in each other's eyes. The ancient god realm of Jiuyo had been sealed for tens of thousands of years, and now was finally opened. How could the corpse of a Greater One sect disciple appear in the ancient god realm of Jiuyo? Su Yu flew over, checked it, and said, "Died 5 years ago. Should be a disciple of the Armament Hall." 5 years ago. The Armament Hall went to the border to fight against Great Emperor Xiaohao and the others who invaded this place. Many people were sacrificed. The corpse in front of them should be the disciple who died that year. But how did his corpse come from the outside world to the ancient god realm of Jiuyo? At that time, the ancient god realm of Jiuyo hadn't been opened yet, right? Brother Su, maybe we can leave the ancient god realm of Jiuyo now. The two of them had no choice but to escape to the ancient god realm of Jiuyo. If they could leave, that would be the best. Staring at the huge abyss under his feet, Su Yu did not take the risk to go inside, because there was a faint, unsettling aura inside. Although it was very weak, it did not mean that the danger was small. On the contrary, it was likely that the other party was just hiding. Let's cultivate nearby and improve our cultivation first. One more cultivation meant one more hope of survival. Yu Xiangwan agreed. The ancient god realm of Jiuyo was too dangerous. The strength of the two of them was really not enough. Not far away, in a secret place, the two of them hid. They each took a drop of spiritual liquid. Su Yu examined it and found that the spiritual liquid contained a very weak power of the Way of Heaven. Although it was so weak that it was negligible for Xian Dao masters like Su Yu and Yu Xiangwan, it was incomparably majestic. Yu Xiangwan took a deep breath. With such rich power, there is still excess to break through a level. Su Yu's eyes flashed. Indeed, once swallowed, the benefits would not only be to break through a level. If they were lucky, they could break through 2 levels. The two of them immediately broke through on the spot. Time passed bit by bit. Half a month later, above the place where the two of them were, a huge amount of path energy suddenly appeared. The path energy was so rich that it had condensed into mist. The mist surged into their bodies, causing their cultivation to skyrocket. A powerful wave of middle nirvana, middle stage energy swept in all directions. Especially Su Yu. When Yu Xiangwan's body was full and stopped absorbing the Taoist energy, the 800 Taoist marks in Su Yu's body were only filled by 1/10. He continued to suck in air. Half a day later, Yu Xiangwan had stopped her training and was staring at the lingering mist of Tao energy above Su Yu's head with her mouth agape. He had successfully broken through to the mid-stage of middle nirvana. The profound Tao power in his body was already completely saturated and could no longer be absorbed. However, Su Yu was like a bottomless pit, and he was still crazily absorbing it. Su Yu didn't stop until the effect of the liquid droplet had completely faded away and all the Taoist energy in the vicinity had been absorbed. As he opened his eyes, a formless wave radiated from Su Yu. Yu Xiangwan was caught off guard and was pushed back by the aura. He subconsciously released his dense, profound way energy in an attempt to resist. However, the result shocked him. In front of the power of the mysterious Tao that Su Yu had inadvertently released, his own power of the mysterious Tao was pierced through like a piece of paper. Then he was swept away and smashed into the ground, rolling over and over. He climbed up with a face full of dust and dirt, looking like he had seen a ghost. What happened to you? He had also broken through to the middle stage of nirvana. However, the profound Tao power in Su Yu's body was more than 10 times stronger than his. That profound Tao power could completely compete with the late stage of nirvana. It's because of my physique. Su Yu stood up indifferently and patted the dust off his body. Everything stemmed from the 800 Taoist marks in his body. Every additional Taoist mark meant that he could accommodate an additional portion of profound Tao power. 800 Taoist marks was naturally more powerful than ordinary profound Tao power of the same level. Damn it, I am a descendant of the ancient gods, and I can't even compare to you, a descendant of the ancient gods. There's no justice in this. Yu Xiang once said angrily. Between the descendants of the ancient gods and the descendants, it was obvious that the descendants had the advantage of bloodline. Whether it was in terms of cultivation speed or strength, they were far superior to the descendants. After all, the descendants had to rely on themselves, apart from some of the things of the ancient gods. In the end, as a descendant of the ancient gods, Yu Xiangwan was completely outshone by Su Yu, the descendant. This made Yu Xiangwan feel a little defeated. Su Yu's expression was indifferent. He would not tell Yu Xiangwan how the 800 Taoist marks in his body had come about. When he broke through the 8 great supremes and felt the pressure of the heavenly law, the despair he felt, everything he had now was something that he deserved. Their cultivation levels had greatly increased, and they were more confident about entering the abyss. But just as the two were about to set off, a dark cloud suddenly sped over from afar. The clouds were densely packed, filled with innumerable experts. There was an existence at the level of an underworld master, and it was incomparably powerful. What a coincidence! Yu Xiangwan was extremely fearful. The Great Steward's cultivation was much stronger than the Second Steward's. A mere Second Steward was enough to make Su Yu reveal his identity as the descendant of the ancient god Jiulong and activate the heaven-destroying seal. One could imagine how terrifying the Great Steward was. The two people who were about to show themselves immediately lay low. All right, let the Great Steward scout ahead. Yu Xiangwan chuckled. We'll just take advantage of the situation from behind. Su Yu did not speak. This advantage might not be easy to take. However, the abyss was the only way out of the ancient god domain of the Nine Nether, so he had to go there. The chief steward and the others landed and stared at the unfathomable abyss in front of them. Their expressions were equally solemn. Only after activating all the defenses did he slowly descend. The chief manager said solemnly, "Do your best to collect 9 darkness crystals of a higher grade. Understand?" Everyone nodded and entered. The edge of the abyss was bordered by sheer cliffs. As expected, it was inlaid with densely packed netherworld crystals. 4th grade 9th hell crystals that were extremely rare in other places seemed to be free of charge here as they filled the surroundings. Tens of thousands of them hurriedly plucked for a while, but they didn't manage to reduce the number of netherworld crystals by much. We're rich. There were so many 4th grade netherworld crystals. They could rest easy for the rest of their lives. Ta! The golden armor hall master was digging when he suddenly discovered a 9 nether crystal that was almost black. He cried out in surprise, 3rd grade 9 nether crystal. There was a 3rd grade 9 nether crystal that weighed 5,000 kilograms hidden within the 4th grade 9 nether crystal. Because of his excitement, he didn't even have the time to keep the 4th grade 9 darkness crystal that he dug out, and he just casually tossed it away. The 4th grade netherworld crystal fell straight into the abyss. 3rd grade, everyone looked over. Even the chief manager looked over excitedly, saying, "Dig it out immediately." His face was full of excitement and a smile. If they were to pluck here for a year and dig out all the 9 nether crystals, the time crystals that they could exchange for would be more than enough to establish a sect. They could completely establish 100 greater one sects and become a transcendent existence second only to Nanming City. And he was about to become a peerless figure that dominated a region, thousands of times better than the chief manager of the Greater One sect. Continue digging. The appearance of the 3rd grade 9 nether crystal excited the others, and they all stepped up their digging. The sound of clanking filled the entire abyss. But at this time, an inexplicable sigh suddenly echoed in the abyss. What an insatiable group of people. As soon as the voice sounded, the chief manager shuddered all over, shivering as he looked down into the abyss. Who? He stared fixedly at the bottomless abyss and asked. He had never heard that there were living beings living in the 9 nether abyss. Sigh. There was another sigh. Then there was the sound of water splashing from weak to strong in the abyss. Visible to the naked eye, the abyss was filled with water that was as black as ink. In the water, there were strange creatures that had the upper body of a human and the lower body of a snake. Without exception, they were all females, and they were all extremely beautiful. Even the many experts who were used to seeing beautiful women all over the world were staring unblinkingly at the groups of beautiful creatures. Among them, on a reef island that rose from the water, sat a beautiful middle-aged woman. Her beauty was even more suffocating. Perhaps it was impossible to find someone who could match her beauty in the world. After a moment of daze, the chief manager finally recognized what these things were, and his expression changed dramatically. Quickly leave the abyss. It's the Nine-Nether Demon, a terrifying creature with a human body and a snake tail that could use its singing to lure martial artists into the depths of the mine, making it impossible for them to return. But didn't this creature only exist in a huge mine at the border of the Greater One sect? Why would it be in the abyss of the Nine-Nether ancient god domain? The chief manager reacted the fastest and immediately rushed out of the abyss. When the others heard that it was the Nine-Nether demons, they all revealed expressions of shock and fled. However, the thousands of Nine-Nether demons that were swimming in the water all floated to the surface, and their beautiful voices concealed the beautiful sounds of nature. Don't listen. The chief manager used his powerful, profound way energy to seal his hearing, determined not to be affected by the singing. But even so, the singing was everywhere. Some weak singing entered his ears. The chief manager's expression became a little sluggish. Fortunately, he was only slightly affected. He forcefully shook his head and flew out in one breath. The others were not so lucky. Apart from the golden armored hall master and the 1,000 or so people who were near the edge of the abyss, they were the first to escape. The others were all mesmerized by the singing. In a daze, they all fell from the cliff and into the water. A group of Nine-Nether demons excitedly rushed forward, hugging them tightly and intimately rubbing their faces. The Nine-Nether demon on the reef looked at the chief manager, who had already escaped into the horizon, and said softly, "Can you escape?" Her red lips opened slightly, and she was actually singing personally. An ethereal, mournful, and otherworldly sound of nature slowly floated out from her throat. The chief manager, who had already escaped far away, could not seal the singing at all with the profound way energy on the surface of his body, and it immediately pierced through his soul. The chief manager paled. You are the Nine-Nether Demon Empress." Chapter 25:51. Who would have thought that he would actually run into it? This caused the head manager to feel despair. No, however, as his mind roared, he gradually lost control. The clarity in his eyes faded bit by bit. If the Great Keeper was already in such a state, how could Su Yu and Yu Xiangwan be spared? Although they were quite far away from the abyss, the Nine-Nether Demonic Empress singing made it impossible for them to avoid it. The moment Su Yu heard the singing, he knew that something was wrong. He immediately covered his ears with the power of the mysterious Tao. Therefore, when the song reached his ears, it was not that strong. However, Yu Xiangwan's reaction was timely. However, his mysterious path energy wasn't as dense as Su Yu's. Thus, he was immediately bewitched by the Ninth-Nether Demonic Empress singing. "Empress!" Yu Xiangwan got up and walked towards the abyss in a daze. Su Yu pulled Yu Xiangwan back. Not only that, she even used her space domain to forcefully lock Yu Xiangwan in place, not allowing her to fall into the hands of the Nine Serenities demon. However, Su Yu wasn't feeling any better. In the end, he heard the singing. His will to resist was rapidly weakening. It wouldn't be long before he, too, would be controlled by the Nine-Nether Demonic Empress. Chirp! At the critical moment, a sharp cry of a phoenix suddenly sounded from beyond the nine heavens. The sound of huge wings flapping rapidly came from the nine heavens. The expressions of the group of Nine-Nether demons suddenly changed, and they all grabbed the experts they had captured and dove into the water. The Nine-Nether Demonic Empress revealed a cold expression and stopped chanting, "Hateful Nine-Nether Phoenix." After he finished speaking, he swept away the manager who was under his control and dived into the water. Above the nine heavens, a large patch of emerald green suddenly appeared. It was as if a Nine-Nether jade flame was burning in the sky. Then, Baihua suddenly jumped into the abyss at an astonishing speed. It lit up the dark abyss, making it brightly lit up. At a close distance, he could see that the jade flames were filled with phoenixes. The group of phoenixes carried the 9 nether green flame. As it flapped its wings, countless 9 nether emerald flames poured down, incinerating all living beings. Moreover, the phoenixes seemed to be feeding on the 9 nether demons. They immediately flew into the abyss and carried away the 9 nether demons that didn't have the time to dive. One of the phoenixes was especially huge. It was even bigger than all the phoenixes combined. It dove headfirst into the pitch-black water, chasing after the 9 nether succubus empress. The 9 nether demonic empress was both shocked and angry. Damn it! It opened its mouth and spat out a sound wave. This sound wave had a terrifying might that surpassed that of a tunnel master. If he were to rush out of the abyss, all living beings in the vicinity would be slaughtered by the sound waves. However, the giant phoenix seemed to be the bane of the 9 Serenity's charm. It opened its mouth and let out a sharp cry, completely destroying the sound wave. At the same time, its sharp beak pecked at the 9 nether succubus empress body like lightning. The 9th nether succubus empress cried out in pain as a large hole appeared in her body. Protect the emperor! The smaller 9 Serenity's demons in the vicinity rushed over and blocked the way forward. But under the attack of the giant phoenixes, the group of 9 Serenity's demons were torn to shreds like pieces of paper and were taken away by the phoenixes that were chasing after them. However, the 9th nether demonic empress took the opportunity to escape deeper into the abyss. The giant phoenix hesitated for a moment before looking deeper into the abyss. Then it slowly stopped its pursuit. It was as if there was an existence in the abyss that even he was afraid of. Chirp! With a cry, the giant phoenix let a group of phoenixes out of the abyss. However, the rebels who were lucky enough to escape were not saved. Because there were still many phoenixes who had not found food, they took them away. Suyu sucked in a breath. He still remembered the first time he had gone to the abandoned mine. He had wanted to explore the other world in the hole. A bird-like creature had flapped its wings and created a huge 9 Serenity's jade flame. Now, it seemed that it had been a phoenix that had flown there by accident. Suyu pulled Yu Xiongwan to lie down on the ground and hid again. But the phoenix's senses were shockingly sharp. Several of the phoenixes rushed over, their sharp claws clawing at the place where Suyu and Yu Xiongwan were hiding. There was no way to hide anymore, so you could only grab Yu Xiongwan and escape. Space domain. In an instant, he had traveled hundreds of millions of miles. Ever since his space domain had reached the intermediate level, the distance he could travel was 10 times greater than before. In an instant, he had disappeared without a trace, causing the group of phoenixes to pounce on empty air. The phoenixes surrounding the giant phoenix were referring to the phoenixes. One of them spoke in a human language and let out a soft sound of surprise. It's that human from back then. Its phoenix eyes turned, and it immediately turned around and shot toward the place where Suyu was. The 9 Serenity's jade flame burst out from its body, and its speed skyrocketed 10,000 times. Suyu had just appeared when he felt a cold wind coming from behind him. Turning his head to look, his eyelids couldn't help but twitch. It was a phoenix whose cultivation had reached the later stage of nirvana void. It was staring at him coldly. A pair of sharp claws reached towards Suyu and Yu Xiongwan at the same time. Suyu didn't even think about it. He immediately shouted, "Time set." However, the phoenix didn't seem to be restricted by the time domain. It reached out without any hindrance. Suyu's heart jumped. He took out the demonic ape puppet and instilled a large number of time crystals into it to activate it. In an instant, the demonic ape puppet roared and used its body to block the sharp claws. However, in an instant, its chest was pierced by the sharp claws and split open on the spot. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Suyu activated the space domain for the second time and escaped again. However, he hadn't escaped for long when he heard the movement of the phoenix behind him. "Human, if I wanted to kill you, you would have died a long time ago." Strangely, the phoenix was very calm. Suyu stopped in his tracks. An existence of the later stage of nirvana void was qualified to say such words. What's the reason for not killing me? Su turned around, on high alert. The 9 nether green flames on the phoenix's body retracted, and she turned into a human. It was a beautiful woman dressed in colorful clothes, surrounded by halos from head to toe. However, her expression was exceptionally cold. Because you are good at the space domain. Back when she was patrolling the area, she accidentally found a gap. Unfortunately, Suyu happened to probe a wisp of soul strength in. She casually shot out the 9 nether green flames, intending to burn the other party to death. However, to her surprise, the other party was proficient in the space domain and was able to escape. What was even more unexpected was that after so many years, the other party actually broke into the ancient god realm of Jiuyu. I need you, so I will spare your life. It's that simple, the woman said indifferently. Is there anything else you want to ask? Thousands of thoughts flashed through Su Yu's mind. After a moment, he pointed to Yu Xiongwan beside him. What about him? He's useless to me. Kill him. The woman was exceptionally ruthless, but after glancing at Su Yu, she said, however, for your sake, I can let him go. The woman in colorful clothes flicked her finger, and Yu Xiongwan, who had fallen into a daze, immediately woke up. Staring at the woman in front of him, his pupils constricted. It was as if he had faintly discerned something from the woman. What do you want me to do? Suyu asked. The woman in colorful clothes turned around and said, just follow me. She took a step forward and appeared beyond the 9 heavens. Suyu pondered for a moment and could only follow. He secretly sent a telepathic message to Yu Xiongwan. Act according to the situation. Unexpectedly, Yu Xiongwan said gravely, don't act rashly. Suyu wanted to ask more questions, but the woman turned her head and looked at Yu Xiongwan meaningfully. Suyu immediately fell silent and did not ask further. 2 hours later, they continued to travel above the 9 heavens. Finally, they found that right above the abyss at the very top of the sky, there was a bird's nest suspended in the clouds. There were tens of thousands of phoenixes resting on it. The woman brought Su Yu and Yu Xiongwan to one of the larger bird's nests. The bird's nest was filled with the corpses of the 9 nether demons. However, they did not die from being eaten, but from being drained of all their blood. Both of you wait here first, the woman said coldly. She seemed to want to report to the giant phoenix where she had gone just now. Before she left, she said without turning her head, not every phoenix is as easy to talk to as me. If you want to be eaten, you can go out to your heart's content. As she said that, she walked away and did not set up any restrictive measures outside the nest. Yu Xiongwan came to the edge of the nest and stared at the incomparably vast phoenix's nest, her eyes solemn. At this moment, a phoenix suddenly swooped down and brushed past Yu Xiongwan's body. A strong hurricane almost swept Yu Xiongwan away. Fortunately, Suyu had sharp eyes and quick hands and pulled her back. That phoenix flew over and stopped in midair, transforming into a black-clothed youth. His eyes were cold, revealing a cruel arc. Cold Feather just likes to do some boring things. She's too pedantic and too benevolent. It sounded like he was very dissatisfied that the female phoenix had brought the two of them back alive. However, due to his fear of the female phoenix, he did not dare to go deep into her nest to capture them. However, I believe both of you will not live for long. Countless people have died in what Cold Feather wants to do, but she has never succeeded. With a cold laugh, the man in black turned into a phoenix and left. Brother Yu, do you have anything to say? Suyu asked. It seemed that Yu Xiongwan had some understanding of this group of phoenixes. Yu Xiongwan nodded heavily. I am very worried. It's normal to be worried, Suyu said indifferently. With the current environment, it would be strange not to be worried. However, Yu Xiongwan looked at Suyu, her expression becoming more and more solemn. I am worried about you. Me? No matter how he looked at it, Yu Xiongwan was in more danger. On the contrary, Suyu not only had more profound, mysterious path energy, but he was also proficient in the 8 great domains. The chances of him escaping were higher. Yu Xiongwan nodded deeply. I will be fine, but you... Suyu's expression also became serious. Brother Yu, please speak frankly. He could feel that Yu Xiongwan was especially serious. Brother Su, Why do you think there are still living creatures in the ancient god realm of Joyo after being sealed for so many years? Yu Xiangwan suddenly asked. Suyu's heart skipped a beat. Indeed, he had almost overlooked it. The ancient god realm of Joyo had been sealed for an entire era. Even time had been frozen. Where did life come from? You mean this group of phoenixes are not living creatures? Yu Xiangwan nodded deeply and pointed to herself. They are the same as me, Corpse Clan. Corpse Clan? Suyu's pupils shrank instantly. He had not encountered the Corpse Clan for a long time. If it was the Corpse Clan, then it would be dangerous. Most of the Corpse Clan were bloodthirsty people. Subconsciously, they wanted to turn all living creatures into corpses and make them one of their own. He was deep in the Corpse Clan at the moment, and it could indeed be considered extremely dangerous. In particular, the group of Corpse Clan was ridiculously powerful. If they really wanted to turn Suyu, it would be very difficult for him to resist. Chapter 2552. Let's bide our time for now, Suyu calmly said, while restraining the strange look in his eyes. At least for the time being, he didn't have to worry about becoming a corpse. The two waited patiently. After a while, two women in golden clothes flew into the nest. Come with us, the woman in golden clothes said coldly, looking at Suyu and Yu Xiang with unfriendly eyes. Yu Xiangwan frowned. The Nirvana Void woman in colorful clothes had warned them not to go out at will. It's okay, since they dared to come in, they must have been instructed by that phoenix. Suyu looked indifferent. Sure enough, seeing that Suyu and Yu Xiang did not move, the woman in golden clothes said, It's Elder Lingyu who wants to see you. But why didn't she come herself? While thinking, Suyu and Yu Xiang followed the two women in golden clothes to the largest nest in the entire nest. There they could see a huge giant phoenix. It was the Phoenix King. It stood on a tree branch with its eyes closed. The surrounding tree branches were densely packed with phoenixes standing around him. The woman in colorful clothes, named Lung Yu, stood in the main hall under the branches, waiting calmly. When Suyu and Yu Xiangwan arrived, the woman in colorful clothes bowed to the giant phoenix and said, These are the two people I brought back. The giant phoenix slowly opened its eyelids, but just a glimpse of its eyes made Yu Xiangwan's heart beat wildly. She had the illusion that she was about to die. The descendants of the ancient god corpse ancestor. Interesting, the giant phoenix said hoarsely. Hearing this, all the phoenixes were surprised. The ancient god corpse ancestor. As the Corpse Clan, in a sense, they were the people of the ancient god corpse ancestor. Lingyu's cold face showed a touch of surprise. She had only intended to bring back Suyu, and Yu Xiangwan was just incidentally brought back. He was actually a descendant of an ancient god. From now on, you will stay here. There should not be many descendants of the ancient god corpse ancestor. The giant phoenix said slowly, deciding Yu Xiangwan's order. As a person of the Corpse Clan, he felt it was necessary to cultivate Yu Xiangwan. So, you are the human who is proficient in the space domain, as Lingyu said. The giant phoenix looked at Suyu. All of a sudden, Suyu felt a strong pressure pressing down on him. The domain in his body was released uncontrollably to resist the pressure. The first to come out was the space domain. A universe appeared around Suyu. Then the time domain. Then there was the soul domain. The 8 domains were forced out one after another. Cold Feather was incomparably shocked. 8 great supreme domains. This is... The giant phoenix's eyes opened completely, and a hint of surprise appeared in its eyes. I truly didn't think that ancient God 9 Dragon still had a successor. The phoenix's eyes revealed an ancient look. He stared at Suyu. The most unbelievable thing is that you have mastered the 8 Great Supreme Realm. This should be impossible. Ancient God 9 Dragon's success was largely because he had stolen the fortunes of the 8 gods. Things had changed with the passage of time. Not to mention the fact that the 8 great rulers didn't have that kind of good fortune for Suyu to obtain. So what if it was intercepted? Would the heavenly Tao allow the birth of a second ancient God 9 Dragon? Impossible. All of the phoenixes were shocked. Apart from a number 1 ancient god in the world, there was actually a second person who had successfully grasped the 8 Supreme Realm. Unbelievable. So what if you're the successor of ancient God Nine Dragons? He's trapped in the ancient God domain of the Nine Nether, just like us, and he'll never be able to leave. A black phoenix said coldly from atop a branch. That voice should be the black phoenix that had previously wanted to capture Yu Xiangwan, right? The giant phoenix was silent, then let out a long sigh. You have indeed come to the wrong place. Yu Xiangwan was slightly surprised. Why did he say that they would never be able to leave? At the very most, they could go back the way they came and return to the greater one sect from the hole in the abandoned mine. As if he had seen through her thoughts, Coldfeather looked at Su Yu and said, "This is also the reason I brought you here. We need your space domain to open the door to heaven for us." She looked up at the vault of heaven. Su Yu followed her gaze and looked over. Only then did he realize that there was a giant gate made of black feathers in the sky above the nest. The giant gate shrank, towering and motionless. "Can't we go back the way we came?" Su Yu asked. Coldfeather did not speak, but pointed in the direction Su Yu and the others had come from. Su Yu stood high above and looked back. Only then did he discover with horror that the world he came from had disappeared. There was only a river flowing with yellow water, extending into the unknown darkness in the void. He was stunned. That's not right. When we came, it was the complete Nine Netherworld. Yu Xiangwan gasped. She could not understand the strange scene in front of her. Coldfeather's expression was calm as he said, "Do you still not understand? The Nine Netherworld is a world where time is frozen. The traces of your previous existence no longer exist. At the same time, it was impossible for a person to be in two places at the same time. Every place that existed must perish in another place. And the entire ancient god realm of the Nine Nether was at the same time. The way Su Yu and the others came, as well as the world they saw, naturally no longer existed. They were the only ones left. Every year, the ancient god realm of the Nine Nether will be cleaned up at a fixed time. The traces of your previous existence have been completely swept away. How do you go back?" Yu Xiangwan thought about it seriously for a while before she understood. But Su Yu, who had mastered the time domain, easily understood the other party's meaning. Time had drowned out their past, including the process when they came. So, they could no longer go back. So, you have no choice but to try to open that door. Coldfeather looked deeply at Su Yu, his eyes full of anticipation. The other phoenixes also looked at Su Yu with hopeful eyes. The space domain was the only opportunity to open the Nine Nether ancient god door. Su Yu stood silently. After a while, he said softly, "I'll give a try." A myriad of universes appeared around him, suddenly wrapping around the door. With the characteristic of the space domain that spanned the myriad worlds, it should be able to pass through the door successfully. However, the universes crashed into the giant door. Pieces of feathers danced in the air, blocking the universe outside. The attempt failed. The phoenixes wore disappointed looks on their faces. They couldn't even use the space domain. They were going to be completely trapped in the ancient god realm of the Nine Nether, never to see the light of day again. "I told you, it's useless to look for them. Just eat them," the black phoenix mocked. Coldfeather's expression was cold, and there was deep disappointment in his eyes. The giant phoenix closed its eyes again, no longer looking at Su Yu. He had lost his value. "Eat him. At the very least, we'll convert him into our corpse clan." The phoenix's eyes emitted dark red rays of light. Su Yu's face was as calm as water. He had expected all of this. Chapter 25:53. His voice wasn't loud, but when it entered the ears of the many phoenixes, it carried a calming power. The giant phoenix, which had already closed its eyes, slowly opened them. "Why do you say that?" Su Yu lowered his head and looked at the bottomless abyss. "That's because there's a door that leads to the outside world in the abyss where the Nine Serenities demon resides." "Nonsense." The black phoenix jumped down and transformed into a black youth. His body exuded the aura of the Nirvana Void Realm, and he stared at Su Yu with extreme hostility. If the Phantom of the Nine Nether had the chance to leave the ancient god realm of the Nine Nether, would he still linger here for many years? Su Yu said placidly, "I don't know about that. All I know is that there is a huge mine in the outside world that connects to the abyss. The most powerful evidence was that the corpse that should have belonged to the Greater One Sect disciple had unexpectedly appeared in the abyss. That group of 9 nether charms definitely controlled the entrance to the ancient god domain of the 9 nether. It was just that the Phoenix did not know. Words alone are no proof. The black-clothed youth strode over. In my opinion, it's better to execute you directly. That way, you won't be able to bewitch people. Wait. The giant Phoenix opened its eyes slightly and gazed deeply at Suyu. It said slowly, he didn't lie. His gaze was exceptionally sharp, as if he could see through a person's heart. What? The Phoenixes became excited again, and they started chatting with one another. The giant Phoenix asked, and Suyu told her about his findings and judgment. The enormous Phoenix pondered deeply when it heard this. No wonder that group of cunning netherworld ghosts have been reproducing for so many years, and the number of their descendants is faintly increasing. So it turns out that they've already found a way to leave the ancient god domain of the netherworld. Ever since the appearance of the Phoenix and the 9 Serenities Phantom, the two sides have been constantly fighting. Whoever had the advantage in numbers would be able to suppress the other side. For many years, the Phoenix had always had the upper hand. Only now did they realize that perhaps it was the netherworld charm that had bewitched them. Over the years, they had secretly transformed many new netherworld demons, secretly accumulating power. One day, he would defeat the Phoenixes in one fell swoop. However, everything is just speculation. I need to confirm it. The giant Phoenix said unhurriedly. The Black Phoenix volunteered. I'll lead the way myself. The giant Phoenix shook its head slightly. With a natural enemy relationship between us Phoenixes and the 9 Serenities demons, they'll be able to sense you approaching the abyss. The numerous Phoenixes looked at Suyu knowingly. Bring the other survivors as well. Also, bring out the survivors of their spatial storage devices, the giant Phoenix said. Most of the rebels had already been eaten. Only a group of people with decent strength were prepared to be converted. While a group of Phoenixes went forward to suppress the people, the Black Phoenix walked over and took away Suyu's space storage device. After opening it, it poured the contents out. Immediately, 2 living beings fell from the sky. One was the little Qilin. One was the wonderful fragrance hall master. In order to hurry on with his journey, he had no choice but to put Hall Master Wonderful Fragrance into his spatial storage device. She looked around in a daze, and when she found herself surrounded by a group of terrifying Phoenixes, she was so scared that she almost screamed. As for the small Qilin, it had followed Suyu for a long time, and it was already used to all sorts of situations. So it didn't show any fear as it surveyed its surroundings. Unexpectedly, as soon as the little Qilin appeared, the numerous Phoenixes clearly became flustered. Some of the Phoenixes even flapped their wings, preparing to fly away. The Black Phoenix was so frightened that it hurriedly retreated. It stared at the little Qilin in shock. Chaos Beast. The giant Phoenix's eyes turned sharp. You actually have a Chaos Beast. Chaos Beasts? This was the first time Suyu had heard someone call the little Qilin that way. In his eyes, the little Qilin was just an ordinary pet. Lingyu also retreated again and again, vigilant. The little Qilin lowered its voice. Master, have I become more powerful? They all seem to be afraid of me. Suyu looked at the little Qilin's thin and weak body and said calmly, No. It must be the little Qilin's ability to devour the 9 nether green fire that made these Phoenixes afraid. The reason why these Phoenixes were so powerful was largely because of the 9 nether green fire in their bodies. The appearance of the little Qilin naturally made them afraid. Kill the Chaos Beast. Kill it. The little Qilin grinned. What are you yelling about? If you yell again, I will eat you all. She licked her tongue involuntarily. For some reason, she felt that these Phoenixes seemed to be the same as the exotic creatures in the 9 nether crystals. They were all delicious. Clap, clap. Many Phoenixes were really scared and flew away. The giant Phoenix hid a strange look in its eyes and shouted, What are you panicking about? A young Chaos Beast can scare you all like this? With that, the Phoenixes finally calmed down. After a while, the giant phoenix said, "Human, take care of your pets." Suyu patted the little Kylan's head and calmed it down. Soon, a group of people was brought over. Thousands of rebel soldiers were eaten until only a dozen or so people were left. Among them, Suyu knew two of them. The Golden Armor Hall Master, Borish. To be honest, Suyu was a little surprised that they were so lucky. They were still alive. "King, throw them all down. Just use our phoenix's heavenly eye, and we can penetrate their eyes and find out everything in the abyss," the Black Phoenix said. The giant phoenix shook its head. "The Nine Nether Charm's perception is amazing. Even the slightest movement will be detected. It's not good to have too many people." The giant phoenix stared at them. "Among you, I will select 3 people to complete the spy mission. The rest will be distributed by my people." Hearing that, the Golden Armor Hall Master and the others turned pale with fear. They had seen with their own eyes that many captives were eaten alive. This giant phoenix meant that if they did not meet the requirements, they would also be eaten. "Elder, may I ask how we are qualified to complete the mission?" The Golden Armor Hall Master cupped his fists respectfully. The giant phoenix said calmly, "It's very simple. You just have to be strong." "Strong?" The Golden Armor Hall Master's eyes flickered. Were they going to kill each other? "The selection begins now. Only 3 people will remain," the giant phoenix said mercilessly. The corpse clan was cold, heartless, and inhumane. They would not be merciful to their food. "What?" The Golden Armor Hall Master immediately reacted and distanced himself from his people. Just as he was about to flee, a cold wind brushed past his shoulder from behind. Looking back, he was surprised to see that a Hall Master standing behind him had attacked him. "You're courting death." The Golden Armor Hall Master immediately counterattacked. In terms of strength, the Golden Armor Hall Master was slightly superior. He killed the sneak attacker in a few rounds. However, his outstanding strength attracted the attacks of the other strong men. The crowd fell into a frenzy of killing. Only the boorish man, who was weak, retreated to the edge, trembling with fear. Carelessly, he bumped into Hall Master Miaoxiang. She glared at him. "Get lost." The boorish man hurriedly pleaded. "Hall Master Miaoxiang, Suyu, save me. Please save me." He could see that Suyu and the others had a special relationship with the giant phoenix. Before Suyu could say anything, Yu Xiangwan had already let out a cold laugh. Chapter 2554. The blue flames in his eyes suddenly shot out and burned the brute to ashes on the spot. "His death is not to be regretted." Yu Xiangwan snorted. How could he forget what this person had done when he and Suyu were imprisoned in the Heavenly Mind prison? Only thinking of asking for help now. The massacre on the battlefield did not continue for long. In a situation where both sides had their Dao artifacts taken away, the only thing that mattered was whether their domains were powerful or not. After a round of fighting, the Golden Armored Hall Master emerged victorious. He had been fighting for many years, so he was more experienced in killing. That was why he had the last laugh. No, there was another person blocking his way. Suyu, Yu Xiangwan, Hall Master Miaoxiang, and himself made a total of 4 people. He still needed to kill one more person. However, Suyu and the other 2 had a harmonious relationship, and it seemed like they wouldn't kill each other. However, it was more likely that they would join forces to kill him. Hence, when the Golden Armored Division Master attacked, he turned into a remnant shadow and went straight for Suyu's life. Among them, Suyu was the weakest, and he was also the one he wanted to kill the most. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang were about to join forces when Suyu stopped them. "I'll do it myself." He took a quick step forward. He didn't use his domain, nor did he use the little Qilin. He simply slammed his palm onto the body. The Golden Armored Hall Master hesitated when he saw this. Suyu had actually made such a big deal out of it. Was there a conspiracy behind it? However, he was already like an arrow that had left the bow, and there was no possibility of turning back. When the 2 met, the result was obvious. The Golden Armored Hall Master's bones were cracked, and not a single part of his skin was intact. His eyes were filled with disbelief. How could you? The power displayed by Suyu in that strike had reached the middle stage of the middle Nirvana stage, which was far beyond his. Without saying a word, Suyu walked back into the distance. The Golden Armor Hall master behind him immediately lost his life force. In the end, the three of them survived. The three of you have 3 days to prepare, the giant phoenix said emptily. 3 days? What could he prepare in 3 days? Cold Feather said indifferently. Come on, return to my lair. Only Cold Feather could still barely be trusted. The rest of the phoenix lairs, they did not dare to casually enter. He returned to the nest once more. Cold Feather simply tidied up the shriveled corpse of the 9 netherworld's charm in the lair. This information, you guys take a look yourselves. Cold Feather threw them a jade pendant. It contained all sorts of information about the abyss. So you frowned slightly. According to the information, the abyss was a vortex that was created when the energy of the 9 hell heavenly Tao charged out. It was filled with countless netherworld crystals, and it also contained unique black water. That kind of black water could corrode life, so he couldn't stay here for long. As for the deepest part of the black water, there was no detailed introduction. You guys prepare yourselves. After Cold Feather finished talking, he left on his own. It was unknown what he wanted to do. After Suyu confirmed that he had left, he isolated the surrounding space on the spot. This trip to the abyss will be fraught with danger. Take this. Suyu flipped his palm, and 3 feathers appeared. This is... Yu Xiangwan gasped. This is the feather from the door to heaven. Suyu nodded slightly. In fact, he could open that door. However, he knew very well that once he opened it, he would not be far from death. With the ruthlessness and inhumanity of the phoenixes, the first thing they would do once they were free would probably be to kill him. Or they could turn him into one of their own. That was why Suyu had secretly played tricks and pretended that he was unable to open the gate of the sky. I have already secretly checked this feather. It contains an exceptionally powerful heavenly law of the 9 nether energy. It can be used for self-defense. Yu Xiangwan was astounded. Suyu had hidden it too well. He could even hide it from the giant phoenixes. 3 days is enough to refine it. Hence, the 3 of them immediately began to refine the feather. 3 days passed in a flash. Several phoenixes came to the nest and stuck a talisman on each of them. Through the talisman, the phoenixes could rely on their heavenly eyes to share the perspective of Suyu and the others. Let's go. The phoenixes each grabbed a person and swooped down at an alarming speed. When they were still a distance away from the abyss, they dropped all 3 of them. Suyu said, remember not to make any noise. That day, the reason the great manager and the others alarmed the 9 nether demons was because a netherworld crystal had fallen into the abyss, causing the 9 nether demons to collectively move out. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang nodded and quietly sneaked into the abyss. They had just dived into the black water when they felt a bone-piercing chill eroding their vitality. Fortunately, the talisman that the phoenixes stuck on their bodies was also a talisman that defended against the black water. From within the talisman, a warm energy gushed out, sweeping away the chill. The 3 of them continued to dive without any hindrance. Half a day later, in the dark water, they could faintly see a bright light. Looking closely, it was the eyes of a few dead phoenixes, emitting a faint glow at the bottom of the abyss. Under the illumination of the light, a deep cave came into view. A few 9 nether demons patrolled nearby and were on guard. Freeze! Suyu activated the time domain and froze all the 9 nether demons. In this way, the 3 of them successfully entered the cave without alerting anyone. Inside the cave, there was a huge square. Near the square were cliffs and precipices. The cliffs were covered with caves, each with a 9 nether demon resting in it. There were so many of them that it was shocking. In the middle of the square, there was a giant door that was as black as ink. The shape of the giant door was exactly the same as the one in the sky. However, the color was pitch black. What was even more surprising was that the giant black door had long been opened, and there were groups of 9 nether demons shuttling back and forth in the giant black door. Retreat. Suyu's eyes narrowed slightly. He believed that the phoenixes had already detected what they were seeing through their shared perspective. The master of the Miaoshan clan resisted the urge to rush out from inside and silently followed Suyu to leave. However, just as Suyu turned around, he quietly left a space domain in the cave. At the same time, in the phoenix's nest, tens of thousands of phoenixes were resting in their nests, overlooking the scene in front of them. The giant black door that Suyu and the others had detected did indeed exist, and just as Suyu had said, it had been successfully opened. The 9 nether demons had long achieved the ability to successfully shuttle through it, but they had been hiding it. One day, when they had enough power, they would rush out. "King, the exit has appeared. Let's go." Lungyu was full of fighting spirit. The rest of the phoenixes were shouting for war. The giant door in the abyss had been opened, and that was their only hope of leaving. The giant phoenix's eyes slowly opened, and after a long time, it said slowly, "Get ready to fight." They had been trapped in the ancient god realm of the 9 nether for too long. They didn't want to wait a moment longer. Lungyu's beautiful eyes flashed. What should we do with those people? Of course, she was asking about Suyu, Yuxiangwan, and the others. The giant phoenix said faintly, "Ancient god corpse ancestor will stay, and the rest will be left to you to deal with." Chapter 2555. The phoenixes acted swiftly and decisively. Now that he had discovered that the giant door was open, he had to act immediately. Apart from a few phoenixes, including Cold Feather, who stayed inside and outside the nest, the rest of the phoenixes followed the giant phoenix and swooped down. They were extremely fast. Suyu and the others had just left the abyss when they brought the boundless 9 nether emerald flames deep into the abyss. The entire pitch-black abyss was instantly burned by the 9 secret jade-green fire, turning it into a wretched green color. The phoenix's surprise attack caught the 9 Serenity's demon off guard. The 9 Serenity's demon at the entrance of the cave issued a frantic warning, but it still couldn't stop the ferocity of the phoenixes and was torn to pieces on the spot. With the giant phoenix in the lead, they entered the pitch-black cave, entered the 9 Serenity's demon's lair, and arrived at the center of the plaza. "Kill. Leave no one alive." The giant phoenix had already discovered through the shared vision of Suyu and the others that there were not many 9 nether demons here. Even the powerful 9 nether demonic empress was nowhere to be found. That was why he dared to give the order to attack the lair of the netherworld demon. Phoenixes made up the majority. The battle immediately turned into a one-sided massacre. Countless 9 Serenity's demons were torn apart. Half a day later, the entire plaza was filled with the corpses of the 9 Serenity's demons, and the phoenix's casualties were negligible. In this way, the phoenixes completely occupied the nest of the netherworld demon. The rest of the phoenixes were cheering and jumping for joy. However, the giant phoenix was unable to feel happy, because it was too smooth. It was as smooth as a trap set by the enemy. "Your Majesty, the gate is already open. I'm willing to lead my clansmen over to take a look," the black phoenix said. The giant phoenix nodded, but warned, "Be careful, there might be a trap." Was it a trap? The black phoenix nodded and led 8 other phoenixes into the black gate. As expected, the black phoenix immediately sensed an aura that was different from the ancient god realm of 9 nether. The outside world. It was the outside world. The black phoenix was excited. However, when his vision cleared up, what caused his heart to skip a beat was that what stood before him were hundreds of thousands of netherworld demons. The 9 nether demonic empress was at the forefront. She sneered, "I've been waiting for you for a long time." "A trap. This is a trap." The black phoenix turned pale with fright and hurriedly retreated. However, when he retreated, he realized that the giant door behind him had already disappeared. The true black gate transformed into a small and exquisite door and appeared in the palm of the 9 nether succubus empress. "Capture them," the 9th nether succubus empress said indifferently. Dozens of powerful 9 Serenity's demons began to chant. Their beautiful voices were filled with charm, causing them to fall unconscious on the spot. After that, he was successfully captured by the netherworld demon. "Hee, let's go and meet that Phoenix King." The 9 netherworld's charm sneered, and the pitch-black gate in her palm grew to a size of tens of thousands of feet, allowing 100,009 netherworld charms to pass through it and enter the world on the other side. The giant phoenix stood in front of the gate with its eyes closed. Everything that the black phoenix had experienced had already been seen by the heavenly eye. He suddenly opened his eyes and shouted, "It is indeed a trap. Everyone retreat." Thus, tens of thousands of phoenixes immediately flew out of the cave. But just when they thought they could retreat calmly, a muffled sound came from the cave. The space in which the cave was located collapsed. This caused the entire cave to rumble, cutting off the only way out for the phoenixes to leave this place. The giant phoenix's eyes were filled with cold, killing intent, the aura of a spatial domain. That human, how dare you? He had never thought that Suyu would dare to scheme against him. No, how did Suyu know that it was a trap? Could it be that he had already seen through this trick of the 9 Serenity's demon to lure the snake into the hole? That was indeed the case. It was precisely because of this that he dared to temporarily cut off their path of retreat and let them fight against the 9 Serenity's demon. From the moment Suyu sent himself to his death, Suyu had already started plotting. One group of you dig the way out. The rest of you, fight with me. It was as if they were facing a great enemy as they faced the 9 Serenity's witches that kept pouring out of the pitch-black door. The strongest among them, the 9 Nether Demonic Empress, held a purple feather in her hand. Looking at the small pagoda, the giant phoenix revealed a hint of fear. No wonder you were able to open the door to the outside world. It turns out that you have a feather of the ancient god of the netherworld. That feather actually belonged to the ancient god of the 9 Nether. At the roots of the hair, there was a faint trace of ancient god blood. Ha! Old phoenix, hand over ancient god 9 Nether's mouth and I'll give you a quick death. It turned out that the reason they were able to become the rulers of their respective regions was because they possessed the parts of ancient god 9 Nether's body. It was different from the items left behind by other ancient gods. The ancient god domain of the 9 Nether had been frozen in time. The parts on its body seemed to have just fallen off, and the power they contained was terrifying. Dream on. The giant phoenix opened its mouth and spat out a golden nail that floated in front of its chest. The 9 Nether Demonic Empress revealed a look of deep fear. That thing was also an enormous threat to her. It was also extremely attractive. This was also why the 9 Nether Demonic Empress had been unwilling to leave even after opening the door to the outside world for so many years. It was because she still wanted the nail on the giant phoenix's body. If she could obtain it, she was confident that her cultivation would rise to the next level. Let's see how good you are. The giant phoenix took the initiative to attack, transforming into a blur that engulfed the 100,009 Nether Demonic Empresses. Instantly, a large amount of blood shot into the sky. In a single night, he had crushed countless 9 Nether Demonic Empress. The 9 Nether Demonic Empress coldly snorted and charged forward with the purple feather. Kill all the phoenixes. Kill all the 9 Nether Demonic Empresses. The two sides quickly engaged in battle. While the 9 Nether Demonic Empresses had the advantage in numbers, the phoenixes were clearly stronger individually. Thus, for a time, both sides were in a deadlock. Back to Suyu and the others. They immediately returned to the phoenix nest and hurried to the giant door in the sky. As long as they could reach it, they could successfully leave the ancient god realm of the 9 Nether. However, a colorful figure blocked in front of them without a sound. She turned around, revealing a face that seemed to be smiling, yet not smiling. Cold Feather? Yu Xiangwan's heart thumped. Why didn't she go? Where are you guys going? Cold Feather's eyes shone with an unfathomable light. Yu Xiangwan said guiltily, "We're here to look for you." "Look for me?" Cold Feather smiled, his eyes turning very cold. "Just as well, I also have some matters that I need to look for you guys for." She raised her hand and took out an elixir furnace. Inside, there was a blood-colored liquid that emitted a strong, fishy smell. "I need to borrow something from the two of you." Cold Feather's smile deepened, faintly concealing his continued madness. Yu Xiangwan had a bad feeling. "What?" "Your blood, his soul." Cold Feather's gaze shifted back and forth between Yu Xiangwan and Su Yu. Yu Xiangwan berated, "What do you mean? The Phoenix King personally said that he wanted to groom me, and you dare to harm me?" She suddenly remembered that the Black Phoenix had once said that those things that Cold Feather was fiddling with would cause their death sooner or later. Could it be that it was all true? "Brother Yu, what's the point of telling the Phoenix traitor about the Phoenix King's orders?" Su Yu said dispassionately. Chapter 25:56. Traitor? Yu Xiangwan was slightly perplexed. Cold Feather betrayed the giant phoenix? However, the cold smile on Cold Feather's face stiffened slightly, clearly showing a hint of panic. "What are you talking about?" Cold Feather shouted solemnly. She mistakenly thought that the Phoenix King already knew of his betrayal. Otherwise, how could Su Yu, an outsider, know about it? Of course it was the Phoenix King who said it. Do you really think that the Phoenix King is fighting to the death with the 9 nether demons in the abyss? Su Yu laughed coldly. You underestimate the Phoenix King's intelligence. Cold Feather stared at the abyss guiltily, his heart thumping nonstop. Phoenix King, you pretended to attack the Phantom of the 9 Netherworlds, but in reality, you were secretly investigating who the spy of the Phantom of the 9 Netherworlds was. It looks like you have revealed your fox's tail. So you try to bluff the Phoenix King. The expression in Cold Feather's eyes changed continuously. The heavens, I was a special ability that only the Phoenix King could activate. Only the Phoenix King could share the vision of the other living beings, and vice versa. Thus, she wasn't sure if the Phoenix King had noticed what she was doing. I'll believe a few words. Cold Feather scoffed. She was betting that Su Yu was just trying to scare her. Unexpectedly, Su Yu casually took out a white feather. That feather contained a weak power of the 9 nether heavenly Tao. As long as it was a phoenix, it could be recognized at a glance, because this feather came from the giant door above. As for that giant gate, it had existed for eons. No phoenix would be unfamiliar with it. This is the feather on the giant door. Cold Feather's expression changed drastically. In the entire Phoenix Kingdom, only the powerful Phoenix King could get close to the giant door and pluck its feathers. 1,000 years ago, the Phoenix King had once flown to that door and tried to blast it open, but he didn't succeed. It was just a few feathers that were taken from it. According to the Phoenix King, this feather had extremely powerful defensive properties. Now, one of the feathers had appeared in Su Yu's hand, and Cold Feather's heart thumped wildly. This could only be given by the Phoenix King in secret. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang were also extremely nervous. This cold feather was an existence of the Nirvana Void Realm. If they were to give themselves away, they would die without a burial place. Yu Xiangwan suppressed her fear and reprimanded seriously. That's right. We are all protected by the feathers given by the Phoenix King himself. Hall Master Miaoxiang, and even the little Qilin took out their feathers. Seeing this scene, Cold Feather was utterly flustered. Come, let's join forces to trampling you and wait for the Phoenix King's return to eliminate the traitor. Su Yu shouted, assuming a stance of wanting to stop them with his life. Cold Feather's mental defenses finally collapsed. Gritting his teeth, he immediately turned around and fled. However, even though the heavens and the earth were vast, the ancient god domain of the 9 Nether was completely empty. So where could they flee to? Su Yu and the others looked at her aimlessly fleeing figure and pretended to chase after her for a while. Then, they hurriedly arrived at the Phoenix King's nest. Standing there, the giant gate formed from white feathers was right in front of him. Get ready. Su Yu immediately used the space domain. The boundless universe pierced through the world and easily pierced through the giant white feather door. Creak! With a soft sound, a crack as thick as a finger appeared on the giant white feather door. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang took a deep breath. The exit was right in front of them. Let's go. Su Yu used the space domain to open the giant door with great difficulty as he sped towards it. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. They successfully arrived in front of the giant door. The giant door had already been opened, and the crack was wide enough for them to pass through easily. Now is the time. Su Yu maintained the crack so that they could pass through first. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang went over one after another. Next was the little Qilin, which jumped over with a stomp of its feet. It was on the other side of the giant door. It turned around and urged, "Master, hurry! Ah, behind you!" When the little Qilin saw this, it was so frightened that it screamed and urged. A woman in colorful clothes appeared behind Suyu with an ice-cold expression. Her face was filled with anger. Clearly, Cold Feather suddenly came back to his senses midway while fleeing. With the Phoenix King's indifference, would he need to go to such great lengths to probe who he suspected to be the traitor? All he had to do was capture the suspect and search their souls. Take 10,000 steps back. Even if they needed to test the waters, why would they send Su Yu and the other outsiders? Absolutely illogical. Therefore, when she returned halfway, she saw the scene before her. Su Yu and the others unexpectedly opened the giant gate stealthily and successfully passed through it. This made Cold Feather alarmed and furious. He was angry because he had been deceived. To his surprise, the giant door actually opened just like that. "Die!" Cold Feather did not say another word and screamed. A domain condensed from his voice attacked swiftly and violently. Suyu was enveloped within and immediately felt pain as if his soul was about to be torn apart. Another moment and his soul would be destroyed and he would die. Soul domain. At the critical moment, he released his own soul domain. In this way, he counteracted the damage to his soul. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he passed through the giant door with a flash. At the same time, he withdrew the space domain. Without the space domain to maintain it, the giant door slowly closed. Cold Feather was greatly alarmed. With a swift dive, he attempted to pass through the giant door in an instant. Space swap. He pointed at the air, and an extremely tyrannical space domain swapped places with Cold Feather with a 9 Serenities crystal in the abyss. Cold Feather, who was about to rush over, was instantly swept into the abyss. However, Cold Feather's abilities were really too strong. Midway, she forcefully broke through the shackles of the space domain and rushed over again. At this time, the giant door was only half the width of a person. She should not have the chance to pass through. But how could Suyu dare to be careless? Space swap. The second space swap began, forcefully sending Cold Feather far away. Cold Feather flew into a rage and watched helplessly as the giant door that had split open closed bit by bit. "Human race, I want you to draw out your blood and eat your soul." As she roared savagely, she burned the colorful feathers all over her body, and with a speed close to space teleportation, rammed over when there was only a trace of crack left on the giant door. Puff! Her body slammed onto the feathered door fiercely, only to hear an extremely heavy muffled sound. Cold Feather smashed into minced meat. She ultimately still did not manage to pass through. Not only that, she even lost her life. It could be considered that she deserved it. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang watched this thrilling scene, their hearts leaping to their throats. So close. Yu Xiangwan patted her chest. If Cold Feather ran over, that would really be extremely dangerous. With Cold Feather's horrifying abilities, the few of them could only be like fish on a chopping board, at the mercy of others. "Leave this place," Suyu urged. Although they left the giant door and reached the outside world, this place was pitch black, not knowing where it was. The 9 Serenities Demon's black giant door led to the mine near the Greater One sect. Where the Phoenix's white giant door led to was unknown. Perhaps it was near the Greater One sect, but it might also be extremely far away. However, just as they turned around, a light pop sound fell into everyone's ears. In such a quiet environment, under the circumstances where everyone's cultivation was not ordinary, this light sound was abnormally clear to listen to. They looked back together, only to see that on the closed giant white door, there was actually a drop of blood sliding down the door. That was Cold Feather's blood. Although her body had been smashed, there was still a drop of blood that splashed over when there was only a sliver of it left in the gap of the door. That drop of blood followed the giant door and fell to the ground. Then, slowly, a blue flame emerged. In the flame, a phoenix was constantly taking shape. Phoenix Nirvana. Suyu clenched his teeth, his eyes suddenly extremely solemn. How could he have forgotten that phoenixes had nirvana. Even if there was only one drop of blood left, it could be reborn on the spot. Moreover, it was different from the rebirth from a drop of blood of ordinary living creatures. Rebirth from a drop of blood often required the loss of 90% of one's cultivation and strength. But the phoenix's nirvana retained all of its essence and returned to nirvana in a complete state. 8 great domains. At this critical moment, Suyu no longer hesitated, immediately activating the domains. The 8 types of domains condensed into a lotus flower, and its petals withered one by one. This drop of blood's own domain was also constantly being stripped away as the petals withered. The shape of the phoenix that had already taken shape was obviously a little weaker. Yu Xiangwan also attacked mercilessly, the turtle shell spinning as it stabbed toward the ladder. The strength of the turtle shell could even break through the formation of an underground master. This stab immediately caused the phoenix to become a little more blurry. Hall Master Miaoxiang did not dare to be stingy with the treasure she had collected over the years. All kinds of talismans were thrown out, bombarding that drop of blood. However, the 3 of them joined forces and attacked only to delay the time of the other party's nirvana. Whenever they stopped for a moment, that phoenix grew again, and it was getting faster and faster. Hence, you can't stop the phoenix's nirvana. Cold Feather sneered maniacally. It finally came out. It finally saw the light of day again. Of course, the first thing she wanted to do was to dismember the 2 descendants of the ancient gods into 1,000 pieces. Using their blood and their souls, she would complete the experiment that she had attempted for many years. Once she succeeded, she would obtain unprecedented power. Watching the phoenix grow stronger bit by bit, her rebirth was only a matter of time. The hearts of the 3 of them sank continuously. It was not easy to escape, but in the end, it still fell into the hands of this Cold Feather. Right at this moment, the little Kylan suddenly ran over, opened its mouth, and held the palm-sized phoenix in its mouth. The phoenix seemed to realize something and immediately screamed, "Ah, beast, what are you doing? Quickly let me out. Let me out." The little Kylan raised its neck, and with a grunt, swallowed the little phoenix directly. After eating, it even licked its mouth. So delicious. In the distance, Suyu and the other 2 stared with wide eyes. The Nirvana Void Phoenix in the midst of Nirvana was directly eaten. Faintly, they could still hear the unwilling screams of the phoenix coming from the little Kylan's stomach. On its stomach, the outline of a phoenix would occasionally protrude. It could be seen that the phoenix was still struggling in its stomach. "Quiet down, it's so noisy." The little Kylan patted its stomach in dissatisfaction, and the phoenix's screams immediately stopped. The little Kylan immediately gave a burp. It's much more delicious than those strange things in the 9 nether crystals. One stomach full. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang were dumbfounded. Chapter 25:57. Suyu squatted down to check the little Kylan's body to make sure that there was nothing wrong with its body or that its soul had not been invaded. After a thorough inspection, deep astonishment surfaced in his eyes. He remembered that the group of phoenixes were particularly afraid of the little Kylan. They called it the Chaos Beast. It was as if they were facing a natural enemy. Moreover, the little Kylan had inadvertently revealed that the aura of the group of phoenixes was very similar to that of the foreign object in the 9 Serenities crystal. So the little Kylan took the risk to try it just now. As a result, this taste was incredible. It found that the 2 were the same thing, so it simply swallowed it. Even a phoenix as strong as Nirvana was swallowed into the little Kylan's stomach and was actually subdued without the slightest room for resistance. "Master, let's go back again. I want to eat them all." The little Kylan bared its fangs and brandished its claws. It was as if eating Lung, you had opened a whole new door for it. Everyone was frightened when they heard this. "Go back again?" Suyu glared at it angrily. "Sure, I'll send you over alone." Only then did the little Kylan stick out its tongue. "I was just kidding." The reason she was able to succeed just now was that Lung Yu was in Nirvana. Apart from being difficult to kill, it did not have much strength. And the phoenixes in the ancient god realm of Juyo were all abnormally powerful. If she went in, she would be courting death. Suddenly, the little Kylan's stomach suddenly growled. The little Kylan felt uncomfortable. Then, with a cry, it spat out a pearl the size of a finger. What is this? The little Kylan touched it with its claws. Are there pearls growing in my stomach? You are not a clam, so you said angrily. He picked up the pearl, a hint of surprise in his eyes. It should be something from that phoenix, but even you can't digest it? The little Kylan's stomach was full of chaotic power, and nothing could not be destroyed. But this bead was safe and sound, so much so that the little Kylan's body had to naturally reject it. Let's leave this place first. So you put away the pearl. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly looked at the giant white door behind him. He touched his chin and put his palm on the door to explore. After a while, he was surprised. This door seems to be able to be refined from this end. On the other side, the white feather door was full of supreme majesty. But this side had no feathers, and it was like an ordinary door. So you try to refine the door. Who would have thought that he would be able to refine the door with just a gentle sweep of his soul? With a whooshing sound, the giant gate turned into a small gate the size of a palm and appeared in Su Yu's palm. Brother Su, what do you want this door for? Aren't you going to throw it away? Yu Xiangwan said with lingering fear. If that group of phoenixes suddenly found a way to open this door and rushed out, just the thought of it was terrifying. Su Yu, on the other hand, was deep in thought as he held the giant door in his hand. After a while, he slowly shook his head. As heirs of the ancient gods, you and I have too little to rely on to deal with the descendants of the juggernauts. Su Yu said, thoughtfully, this door leads directly to the ancient god realm of Jiu. It might come in handy at critical moments. Not to mention anything else, just the group of incomparably powerful phoenixes alone was an unimaginable force. After stuffing the giant door into his bosom, Su Yu started to assess the situation that he and the others were in. They saw that they were in a pitch-black, sunless underground mine. There are traces of man-made excavation. This should be an abandoned mine. Hall Master Wonderful Fragrance had dealt with netherworld crystals all year round, so she was very familiar with these things. As expected, looking closely, there were traces of excavation everywhere. Moreover, the excavation stopped just as they reached the giant door. It looked like the excavator had realized the danger of this door and did not dare to continue digging. Fortunately, the other party was not very daring. Otherwise, someone else would have gotten ahead of them and taken control of the white feather door first. After confirming that it was a mine, they walked in the opposite direction of excavation. 1 month later, they finally arrived at an exit that had already been sealed. Isn't this mine a little too big? Yu Xiangwan exclaimed. Only our Nanming city, the mine controlled by Emperor Star Rain, could possibly compare. Su Yu shook his head. He had personally been to Emperor Star Rain's mine. There was definitely no other mine that could compare to the scale of the mine in front of them. I'm afraid we have appeared in the territory of an incredible person. Such a huge mine could not possibly be controlled by a small force. Even a large faction like the Tianqi Palace would not be able to control such a huge mine. The person who controlled it must be someone extremely important. Moreover, as they studied the sealing spell, Yu Xiangwan's face was filled with despair. This is a spell close to the level of the Heavenly Law Master. It is impossible for US to break it alone. Yu Xiangwan's face was slightly pale. Moreover, within the spell, there's a force second only to the Heavenly Law Master. If we forcefully break the spell and activate this force, we will only be annihilated. The Miaoshan clan master was bitter. They had painstakingly escaped the ancient god realm of Jiu, only to find themselves in a dangerous place. Were they going to be trapped in a mine for the rest of their lives? Step back, let me try. Su Yu muttered to himself for a long time before finally making up his mind. Yu Xiangwan and Miao Xiangwan were shocked. Su Yu's 8 great domains were indeed powerful, but they had not reached the level of the Earthmaster, right? Moreover, the attack of an ordinary Earthmaster would not be effective against the spell in front of them. But since Su Yu had said so, they naturally retreated 100 miles. Not enough, move back a little more. Yu Xiangwan was secretly shocked. What was Su Yu trying to do? Was a safe distance of 100 miles not enough? The two retreated until they were 10,000 miles away before Suyu nodded. Suyu took a deep breath and took out a fragrant sachet. The fragrant sachet was a defensive item given to Suyu by the Star Rain Empress. It was a gift from the Time Master herself, but she had given it to Suyu. She held the fragrant sachet in her hand, and the thunder controlling 8 extremes set appeared in her eyes. 8 extremely powerful thunderbolts suddenly bombarded the spell above her head. With the power of the thunderbolts, they naturally could not break the spell, but they had activated the majestic power hidden within the spell. A world-destroying fiery light suddenly rushed out of the spell and attacked Suyu. The power was so great that it far surpassed that of the Phoenix King and the demonic Empress of the Nine Nether. With Suyu's cultivation, he would die a horrible death immediately. At the critical moment, he threw the fragrant sachet above his head. Boom! A wave of fragrance suddenly emanated from a sachet. The fragrance formed an invisible air shield, enveloping Suyu within it. The powerful flame attacked the air shield, but it did not budge an inch. Instead, the air shield gradually strengthened, causing the flame to shoot in all directions. A portion of it shot onto the spell. No matter how strong the spell was, it could not block the terrifying flame. Huge holes were melted through the spell. As a result, the formation collapsed on its own. When the flame dissipated, there was still a destructive aura nearby. Yu Xiangwan and the others walked over in fear, staring at the air shield above Suyu's head that was slowly dissipating. They were extremely shocked. A treasure that can withstand the attacks of anyone below the master of the heavenly law. The master of the Miaoxiang clan secretly admired Suyu's endurance. How many dangers had they encountered along the way? But Suyu had been holding back, determined not to use it easily. Only now did it play an important role in this desperate situation. Suyu's expression was calm as he said indifferently, "Let's leave this place quickly." The master of this place might have already noticed that the spell had been melted. It would be too late if they did not leave now. The three of them immediately left and exited the spell. In the end, what came into view was a world filled with bloody light. The place where they had rushed out was a small island. But outside the small island was a boundless sea of blood. Go! The sea of blood gave the three of them an extremely ominous feeling, and they did not dare to stay for even a moment longer. 10 days later, a beam of golden light descended on the small island and immediately appeared near the spell. He was a handsome man with a head of long golden hair. His face, which should have been elegant and calm, was now filled with a gloomy expression. Who can break the seal spell personally bestowed by the Time Master? He was none other than the great Emperor Xiaohao. He entered the mine with some worries in his heart and went all the way to the end of the mine. The white feather gate that should have been here was nowhere to be seen. Oh, Xiaohao was furious. He roared at the sky, and the whole mine shook. Reverse time. He tried to reverse time and restore the scene to 10 days ago. In this way, he could successfully return to the white feather gate. If he was lucky, he could even encounter the group of thieves who had stolen his belongings. However, only 7 days ago, Xiaohao's face turned pale, and he opened his mouth to spit out a mouthful of black blood. Damn it! Obviously, he had failed. That damned successor of the ancient god Jiulong. It was because he had exhausted his bloodline to fight the successor of the ancient god Jiulong that his bloodline had weakened, and he could not reverse time for too long. 7 days was the limit of what he could endure. After confirming that the gate of white feather was gone, Xiaohao's face was filled with rage and killing intent. You better pray that you never use the gate of white feather for the rest of your life. Otherwise, if I find out about it, you'll have nowhere to go. The white feather gate seemed to be especially important to Xiaohao. Suyu and the others were completely unaware of this. After a month's journey, they finally flew out of the Blood Sea. Along the way, Hall Master Wondrous Fragrance had a lot on her mind. Hall Mistress Miaoxiang, do you have anything you want to say? Suyu was observant, so he noticed that something was amiss with Miaoxiang. Hall Master Miaoxiang said with a frown, I have been in the Greater One sect for millions of years, but I have never heard of such a sea of blood at the southern end of the dream-broken boundary. This sea of blood was extremely vast. It was almost 1% of the southern area of the dream-interrupted boundary. However, she had never heard of it before. It's best to find someone to ask. While Suyu was thinking, he suddenly realized that there was a rather prosperous city at the edge of the Blood Sea coast. That city was more than twice the size of Southern Bright City. In terms of prosperity, it was several times more prosperous than Southern Ming City. Even before they entered the city, they could feel that there were many strong people in the city. The three of them came to the foot of the city wall, and they could clearly see the three words on the wall. Northern Ming City. Northern Ming City? The three of them gasped. In the center of the southern area of the dream-interrupted boundary was Southern Ming City, and its ruler was Empress Star Rain. In the center of the northern area of the dream-interrupted boundary was Northern Ming City, and its ruler was Great Emperor Xiaohao. Chapter 2558. In fact, in the southern part of the Broken Dream Realm, Empress Star Rain's presence was nowhere near as strong as Emperor Xiaohao's. This was because not only was Grand Emperor Vaskai a ruler, he was also a pure-blooded descendant of the chief sovereign of time. He had mastered the powerful and extraordinary time domain. Even against the Tao Lord, Emperor Xiaohao might not necessarily lose. We've actually come to Emperor Xiaohao's holy city. Hall Master Wonderful Fragrance's expression changed drastically. Everyone knew the relationship between Emperor Xiaohao and Empress Star Rain. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were enemies of life and death. As the subjects of Empress Star Rain, it was not a good thing for them to appear in the northern holy city. How long will it take to get to Nanming City? Suyu asked. Hall Master Wonderful Fragrance said with certainty, if we hurry, it will take at least 10 years. The distance between the two places was simply too great. 10 years. Suyu raised his brows slightly. The last time he fought with Emperor Xiaohao was 5 or 6 years ago. Could it be that Emperor Xiaohao was still on his way back? Unless we take the time-flying ship of Northern Ming City. The time-flying ship was an ultimate Tao artifact that the Time Sovereign had personally set up in the various sacred cities. It was filled with the powerful and extraordinary power of time. Sitting on it would allow one to enter a state of accelerated time. A journey that should have taken 10 years could be shortened by 10 times. Therefore, they only needed a short year to reach Southern Ming City. Let's go into the city. Suyu put on a special conical bamboo hat, which allowed him to detect everything. Hall Master Miaoxiang and Yu Xiangwan pondered for a while and did not refute. 10 years on the road was too long. After the three of them entered the city, they went straight to the main hall where the time-flying ship was. One had to buy a ticket to board the time-flying ship. Do you need 3 tickets to Southern Ming City? The ticket seller nodded and said, You've come at a bad time. The ship has just left, and the next one will have to wait for a year. 1 year? Suyu thought for a moment, then said, It doesn't matter. We can buy tickets for the ship that will depart a year from now. All right. 1 ticket is 2 million time crystals, the ticket seller said. 2 million? Even Suyu couldn't help but click his tongue. Isn't the price too expensive? Apart from the sex, who else could take out 2 million? Moreover, there were 3 of them, so they would need about 6 million time crystals. To them, it was an astronomical figure. If you don't have enough money, please come again next time. Suyu and the others could only leave for the time being, find an inn, and clean up the 3 people's belongings. I only have 1. 2 million time crystals left. This was the time crystal that Suyu had obtained when he was in charge of selling the faction's 9 Serenities crystals. It was just that after returning to the Greater One sect, a series of encounters occurred, and he did not have the time to hand it over. But that was all. Then, he looked at you, Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang. The head of the Wonderful Fragrance Hall was better off. She had been in charge of the exchange hall for many years and had some savings, but it was only 1 million. Yu Xiangwan, on the other hand, was empty, except for the 60,000 time crystals that Suyu owed him. Only enough for 1 ticket. The Miaoxiang clan's mistress shook her silver teeth. She kept 100,000 time crystals as a backup and handed the rest to Suyu. You guys go ahead. I'll pass. The eyes of the hall master of the wonderful fragrance hall dimmed. The Greater One sect has been destroyed. Even if I return to the southern part of the dream break boundary, it would be useless. Ever since she came to the dream-broken boundary from the outer realms, she had always been in the supreme sect. It was her home. Now that her home had been destroyed, her whereabouts were unknown. Therefore, she left the only chance of getting a ticket to Su Yu and Yuxiang. It was the two of them who had saved her along the way that she had been able to avoid dying in the internal strife of the Greater One sect. She was willing to give 900,000 time crystals to them. Su Yu waved his hand. Don't hurry, let me clean up the rest of the things first. Two objects appeared in his palm. One of them was the second in-charge space storage device. Back then, she had been killed by the heaven-destroying seal, and the space storage device had been left behind by Su Yu. Opening it, the three of them glanced inside and were all moved. 3 million time crystals. With the financial resources of the Greater One sect, 3 million was roughly equivalent to the annual income of the Greater One sect. It could be seen how much the second in charge had pocketed over the years and embezzled from the faction. There's already 5 million. Everyone's faces relaxed slightly. They were still short of 1 million. Unfortunately, as they continued to search, they did not find anything valuable. Instead, a letter caught their attention. On that letter, there was a faint time domain seal. Su Yu took it out, a cold look in his eyes. It went without saying who this time domain seal came from. Xiao Hao. With a flick of his finger, a touch of the power of time successfully flicked off the seal, revealing the contents of the letter. The grand event is imminent, and you must open the 9 netherworld as soon as possible. Grand event? What kind of grand event did Xiao Hao need to pay attention to? However, why was Xiao Hao so eager to ask them to open the 9 netherworld? Su Yu pondered, and hundreds of possibilities flashed in his mind. After a thorough analysis, his eyes flickered slightly. Xiao Hao has played a big game of chess. He's so cruel for a sister who hasn't even awakened the bloodline of time, Su Yu murmured. Su Yu murmured to himself. The competition among the descendants of the Time Master is much more serious than I thought. He already knew what Xiao Hao was going to do. Once, Xiao Hao personally led a group of strong men to the mine where the 9 nether demon lived, including the Star Rain Empress and the others. They all thought that Xiao Hao coveted the 9 nether crystals inside. However, in fact, that was not the case. His plan was not just the 9 nether crystals. What he wanted was to use the hands of the 9 nether demon and the phoenix to destroy the southern part of the dream-broken realm. What happened when the Great In-Charge and the others broke into the ancient god realm of the 9 nether? It led to a collective battle between the phoenix and the 9 nether demon. It was just that the 9 nether demon retreated and the battle did not break out. If the battle broke out and the 9 nether demon was greatly injured, would he be able to keep the black feather gate in his hands? If he was not wrong, the strong men that Xiao Hao had sent back then did not all leave. They were still lurking in the depths of the mine, waiting for the 9 nether demon to be greatly injured to snatch the black feather gate. By then, both gates would be in Xiao Hao's hands. If he opened both gates in the territory of the Star Rain Empress at the same time, what would happen? The phoenix and the 9 nether demon rushed out of the ancient god realm together. With the power of the phoenix and the 9 nether demon, the entire southern part of the dream-broken realm would be destroyed in an instant. The head steward and the second steward were merely bait for Xiao Hao. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. The group of strong men hiding in the abyss had obtained the black feather gate. But the white feather gate that Xiao Hao had obtained had fallen into Su Yu's hands. Xiao Hao, I did not want to be involved in the dispute between the Time Masters, but you want to be my enemy. Su Yu's eyes were filled with cold light. It would have been fine if he did not know, but since he did, how could he let him have his way? With a pinch of his fingers, Su Yu crushed the letter. Finally, he looked at the pearl of the cold feather. Chapter 2559. After pondering it for a while, Su Yu realized that it was a space storage device. It was forged using a material that contained the powder of the ancient god of the Netherworld's bone. No wonder the small Kylan couldn't digest it. Su Yu was quite surprised. After refining it, Suyu took a look at it and couldn't help but be shocked. There were innumerable netherworld crystals inside. A third-grade netherworld crystal that was almost black in color. A purplish-black rank 4. A purple rank 5. There were so many of them that they piled up in several mountains. Even 100 years of mining in the entire southern region of the Broken Dream Realm would not be able to match up to this amount. Suyu's heart was at ease. The money was settled. With so many 9 nether crystals, he would be able to gather 6 million time crystals just by casually selling some of them. However, Suyu's attention was focused on another object. It was a cauldron that was as black as ink. The cauldron was filled with boiling blood, giving off a strong smell of blood. Surprisingly, there was actually a drop of ancient god 9 nether's blood. In addition, there were many corpses of the netherworld demons near the cauldron. What does she want to do? How could Suyu forget that Cold Feather still wanted Suyu's soul and Yu Xiangwan's blood? Suddenly, Suyu caught a glimpse of a book. With a thought, Zhang Xian took it out. He flipped it open and saw that it was written in the heavenly book, in the language of the human race. The few heavenly book characters on the cover meant rebirth heaven scripture. As he flipped through the content, Suyu was surprised to discover something. The heaven scroll of rebirth was a very evil scripture. By extracting the precious bloodline of other living beings, he would condense it into a blood pill that would allow him to transform. Shockingly, there was a method to extract the blood of a phoenix and transform into a phoenix. Could it be that Lung Yu's real body is actually a 9 nether demon? So you could not help but be shocked. Cold Feather willingly acting as the 9 netherworld's demon's informant. The only motive could only be this. She herself was a demon of the netherworld. However, with the help of the heaven scroll of rebirth, he managed to cultivate a blood pill that could allow him to transform into a phoenix. And that was how he managed to sneak into their midst. What book is this? I don't know him at all. Suyu stroked his chin and said slowly, "It's an evil, yet interesting book." He stared at the pill furnace inside, and his heart stirred. Sell these 9 nether crystals, then buy your tickets. After Suyu had made the arrangements, he immediately entered the training room and took out the cauldron. Under Suyu's watch, the half-refined blood continued to evaporate. 1 year passed. There was only a thin layer of blood left. Under Suyu's careful mixing, 10 pitch-black blood pills were finally produced. These blood pills were refined from the blood of 9 Serenity's demons. Once swallowed, one would definitely become a netherworld demon. I hope that it will be of use. Suyu's eyes shone brightly. The seclusion ended. Yu Xiangwan paced back and forth anxiously. Seeing that Suyu had come out, he heaved a sigh of relief. I almost missed the time. Today was the day the flying boat would depart for the southern Ming city. If Suyu still didn't come out, he was going to interrupt Suyu's isolation. I know what I'm doing. Suyu thought for a moment, then used the 8 great domains to create 3 new creatures. The living creature's cultivation was not high, only at the fairy realm. However, his eyes were full of intelligence. "Greetings, creator," to them. Suyu was their creator. Suyu took out 2 blood pills and gave them to 2 of them to swallow. After swallowing, they immediately turned into netherworld demons. Yu Xiangwan was shocked by this scene. It's amazing. He actually turned a creature of another race into a netherworld demon. Suyu chuckled. To be precise, the heaven scripture of rebirth was amazing. The 2 of you hide here and wait for my order before acting. Yes, creator. Suyu looked at the last created creature, took out the white feather gate, and said, "Take good care of this gate. Don't lose it, understand?" Yes, creator. Suyu waved his sleeves and hid the creature, holding the white feather gate somewhere else. The other 2 creatures waited where they were. Okay, let's go. Yu Xiangwan frowned slightly. Brother Su, what is the meaning of this? Suyu shook his head. Nothing, just a precaution. They met up with Hall, Master Miaoxiang, and came to the Time Palace. There was a huge ship that was floating in the time domain, and there were already dozens of people sitting on it. Suyu and the other 2 boarded the boat with tickets. In the evening, it was time to set off. Several white-robed elders came over and jointly launched the formation under the time realm to release the flying boat. In another year, Suyu would be able to return to the south successfully. When he returned, the first thing he would do was to explore the ancient tomb of the demon faction, find the sinful Lady Temple, and resurrect Yun Yazi as soon as possible. If there was a chance, he would not hesitate to use the power of the Star Rain Empress. Buzz. The formation trembled, and the time-flying boat was about to set off. However, at this moment, 2 rows of heavily armored soldiers rushed over on magical weapons and surrounded the Time Palace. A handsome young man with blonde hair stepped forward with his hands behind his back. His long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at the hundreds of people on the flying boat. "Greetings, great Emperor Xiao Hao." The white-robed people's faces changed dramatically, and they knelt down to pay their respects. All the people in the Time Palace also knelt down to pay their respects. "Xiao Hao." Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. Yu Xiangwan also had an ugly expression. As a descendant of the ancient God Corpse ancestor, Yu Xiangwan knew better than Su Yu about the hatred between the ancient gods and the rulers. When the descendants of the two sides met, it would definitely be a situation where they would fight to the death. Why did Xiao Hao suddenly appear? Great Emperor Xiao Hao came with his hands behind his back and smiled lightly. "The people who stole my house of white feather, are you very surprised that I have come in person?" Hearing this, Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxian's hearts beat violently. Just as they were about to show a strange expression, Su Yu transmitted a message in time. "It's a trick. Don't be fooled. Stay calm." The two of them immediately suppressed the panic in their hearts, showing some confusion. They looked at each other as if they were completely unaware of what was going on. Little did they know that just now, Great Emperor Xiao Hao had used the time realm to carefully observe everyone's expressions. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang were lucky enough to escape and did not give themselves away. Sure enough, Xiao Hao raised his eyebrows slightly. Obviously, he had simply probed everyone's expressions just now, but he did not get what he wanted. The reason why Xiao Hao came in person was that he was sure that the people who stole the House of White Feather would use the time-flying boat to leave as soon as possible for safety reasons. Therefore, he had been biding his time. It was only when the time-flying boat was about to depart that he suddenly surrounded the thieves and tried to capture them. Unfortunately, it seemed that he did not get what he wanted. "Everyone, take off your disguises." Emperor Xiao Hao berated, feeling a little indignant in his heart. Su Yu's eyes narrowed slightly. Slowly, he touched his special bamboo hat. If his true appearance was exposed, he and Xiao Hao would inevitably fight again. If it was elsewhere, it would be fine. With his current realm, he was not afraid of fighting Xiao Hao. Chapter 2560. Immediately now, Xiao Hao stared at a few of the hesitant people. His eyes were deep and sharp, and a time domain lingered around him. Of course, not all of them were Su Yu. Perhaps they were all people whose identities could not be exposed, such as wanted criminals or spies in Naming City. However, it was very likely that the thieves were among them. The group of people had no choice but to remove their disguises. Xiao Hao looked at them one by one, and when his eyes locked on Su Yu, he raised his eyebrows slightly. Because Su Yu had not taken off his bamboo hat. Just as he was about to scold them, a strange aura suddenly erupted not far away from the Time Palace. It was a strong aura of death. Soon after, a particularly beautiful song floated over from the aura. The song was ethereal and beautiful, like the sounds of nature. Everyone was immersed in the song, unable to extricate themselves. Even Xiao Hao fell for a moment, but he shook his head and got rid of the temptation of the song, and his pupils constricted. 9 Serenity's charm. Only the 9 Serenity's charm could have such a song. And there was only one place that had the 9 Serenity's charm, the ancient god realm of the 9 Serenities. The only way to reach Biming City from the ancient god realm of the 9 Serenities was through the White Feather Gate. The White Feather Gate. Over there. Xiao Hao broke through the air. The guard behind him immediately gave up the siege of the Time Palace and chased after him. The group of white-robed elders heaved a long sigh of relief. After looking at each other, they did not know whether to continue activating the time domain. "Please activate the time domain immediately," a masked man urged. He was so and the others were even more so. They did not want to be questioned by Xiaohao again. The white-robed elders hesitated. Xiaohao did not give the order to let them go. If they continued now, what would happen if he blamed them later? Set off immediately. I will give each of you 1,000,000 time crystals. The masked man took out 5 small bags and showed them to the white-robed elders. Bribes? The white-robed elders were naturally tempted. They worked hard here day after day, year after year, and the pay they received was negligible. 1,000,000 was indeed a large sum. The white-robed elders looked at each other and nodded secretly. Xiaohao did not give the order to let them go, but he did not stop them either, did he? The white-robed elders accepted the bribe and continued to activate the time domain. However, at this moment, a cold voice came from afar. Hold off on letting them in for now. We'll talk about it when I return. Xiaohao transmitted his voice from afar. The white-robed old men's expressions flickered, and they hesitated for a moment before coming to a stop. The time vessel that was about to leave stopped again. The expressions of the people on the ship changed again. A few impersonators stood up uneasily. Forget it, I don't want to sit on it. The masked man immediately stood up as he turned around and prepared to jump off the airboat. However, his face sank, and he found that there was a time domain barrier around the flying boat, blocking the entire flying boat. He couldn't leave even if he wanted to. Everyone, Xiaohao has an order. Please wait patiently, the white-robed elders said seriously. They each maintained the operation of the formation, urging the time domain to seal the small boat. No one on the flying boat could escape. This time, everyone was like a turtle in a jar. Yu Xiangwan's expression tensed up. We're in big trouble. Not only did they fail to leave, they fell into Xiaohao's trap and became turtles in a jar. Once Xiaohao returned, they would have nowhere to hide. It's Xiaohao who is in trouble, not us. Suyu stood up slowly and walked to the edge of the flying boat. The white-robed elders immediately scolded. Sit back down, don't act rashly, and listen to Great Emperor Xiaohao's command. Suyu stood at the bow of the flying boat with his hands clasped behind his back and said calmly, Now, I should be the one commanding Xiaohao. Huh? The white-robed elders looked at each other. What does he mean? How is he commanding Xiaohao? Tell Xiaohao that we will meet again. Suyu tapped his right palm lightly on the boat. A powerful time domain was suddenly launched. The time domain that had sealed the flying boat was instantly shattered by this time domain. In an instant, the flying boat was freed and slid into the incomparably long tunnel of time. The white-robed elders were shocked. Time domain, you? Which time master's descendant are you? As they roared, they tried to seal the flying boat. However, the flying boat had disappeared in the blink of an eye, like a green dragon in the sea. On the other side, Xiaohao tracked the source of the aura and the song. The 2 nether demons stood in the yard, unhurried, as if they had deliberately lured Xiaohao here. Who let you out? Xiaohao shouted. The 2 of them smiled, and their souls slowly dissipated. Suyu had created them, but he had only given them a short life. It was better to dissipate painlessly and without memories than to be caught and tortured to death by Xiaohao. Dead. He walked up and grabbed the 2 corpses, extremely puzzled. How could they suddenly die? They appeared suddenly, and then died suddenly. Then he realized something and said abruptly, Oh no, we've been tricked. Go back quickly. He led the guards back immediately. What came into sight was a group of extremely corrupt, white-robed elders. As for the time-flying boat, it was long gone. Bastard, who allowed you to let go of the flying boat without permission? Xiaohao's aura reverberated around him, causing the white-robed elders to vomit blood. The white-robed elders hurriedly knelt down and begged for mercy. Great Emperor, please don't be angry. We didn't let it go, but a descendant of the Time Master appeared on the flying boat. He released the Time Realm and let the flying boat go. Moreover, he asked us to tell the young master that you will meet again. Xiaohao was surprised to hear that. A descendant of the Time Master? His eyes were filled with deep surprise. Could it be the 2 from Dongming City and Shiming City? Or is it the descendant of the ancient god Jiolong? Xiaohao's eyes became sharp. Xiaohao asked, How high is the level of the opponent's time realm? Mid-level realm. Xiaohao's face softened. It should be one from Dongming City or Ximing City. Su Yu, the descendant of the ancient god Jiolong, controlled 8 great realms at the same time. It would be extremely difficult to upgrade all of them. Humph! I was wondering how the White Feather Gate could be forcefully broken through the formation and stolen. It turns out that it was the doing of those 2 reckless fools. Xiaohao's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He took one last look at the time tunnel and said coldly, "If you want to leave safely, it depends on how capable you are." Whoosh! A caterpillar appeared in his palm, its body exuding an extremely dense aura of time. This was an artifact that the Time Master had personally bestowed upon him, just like the defensive sachet that Empress Darrain had obtained from the Heavenly Lawmaster. Xiaohao also had an artifact that the Time Master had bestowed upon him. Moreover, it was an offensive artifact. "Go!" He waved his hand, and the caterpillar burrowed into the time tunnel. The white-robed elders' expressions changed when they saw this, and they exclaimed, "Great Emperor, this might destroy the time tunnel." Chapter 2561. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." Xiaohao sneered. The time-flying boat traveled. Everyone on the ship let out a long sigh of relief. Many people looked at Su Yu with reverence and fear in their eyes. Under the rule of the time god, the young man before him could only be a descendant of the time god, right? The generous masked man sized Su Yu up and took the initiative to greet him. "Sir, how should I address you?" Su Yu glanced at him. He had a deep impression of this person. Just like that, he was able to bribe a few million yuan. His net worth was so high that it left people speechless. Su Yu. Very few people in the dream-broken realm knew his name. Unexpectedly, the masked man was startled for a moment. What a coincidence! My young mistress often mentions a human called Su Yu. Human? Su Yu? It seemed a little coincidental. But thinking about it carefully, there were many humans in the broken dream realm. It was normal to have people with the same name. Oh, Su Yu's expression was indifferent, as he tried his best not to reveal any information about himself. The masked man said, "It's all thanks to you that we could get rid of Xiaohao. Otherwise, if we were stopped by this person, even if we didn't do anything wrong, we would still be skin alive." The others deeply agreed with this. Xiaohao did have a bad reputation. He was ruthless and cruel, tyrannical and overbearing. He looked refined on the surface, but it was actually the opposite. Those who were familiar with him were not willing to have a deep relationship with him. "You don't need to thank me," Su Yu said calmly, giving off a cold and unapproachable aura. The masked man tried to befriend him several times, but failed. He could only retreat resentfully. The flying vessel fell silent. There was still a year to go. There was still a long way to go. Everyone was silently meditating. Su Yu noticed that the masked man's technique was very special. It didn't seem like an ordinary creature at all. However, this had nothing to do with Su Yu. He closed his eyes and thought about his next plan. If he wanted to go to the ancient tomb of the demon sect, he needed someone from the demon sect to lead the way. Jin Yu once said that the ancient tomb of the demon sect would only open when the demon lord of each generation died, and the body of the demon lord would be buried inside. Other than that, no one knew where the ancient tomb of the demon sect was and how to open it. But who should he look for? Jin Yu's status was too low, so her help was limited. But how could it be so easy to bribe a member of the evil cult who had high status? While he was thinking, far away in the ancient god domain of the Nine Nether, in the abyss, the earth shook and the mountains shook. The gap blocked by Su Yu was finally broken by the phoenixes. They had already been trapped here, fighting against the Nine Serenities demon for an entire month. Both sides suffered casualties. Among them, the casualties of the Nine Serenities demons were even heavier. However, they outnumbered the phoenixes. The battle continued. Only the Nine Serenities demon would emerge victorious. The Ninth Nether succubus empress was gasping for breath, and there were many hideous wounds on her body. Because he had been injured by ancient god Nine Nether's fingernails, it was very difficult for the wound to heal. She gritted her teeth and glared at the Phoenix King. "I didn't expect you to be so difficult to deal with." The charming queen of the ninth nether demonic empress thought to herself that she had miscalculated. They thought that they would be able to capture all of the phoenixes in one fell swoop by relying on their large numbers. But who knew that the phoenix's strength was even greater than he had imagined? This was especially true for the Phoenix King, which was almost equivalent to the sum of all the other phoenixes. Actually, according to the nine nether succubus empress original plan, they would quietly reproduce for a few more decades, allowing the number of nine nether succubi to expand to the limit. That would be the best time to destroy the phoenix in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, Coldfeather had secretly informed them that a human had already exposed the secret that they could enter and leave ancient god Nine Nether at will. Out of helplessness, they had no choice but to act in advance. Under the hasty preparations, they did not manage to obtain the expected victory. The Phoenix King's eyes were cold. Nine Nether Demon, I will settle this debt with you sooner or later. Let's go. Since the passage had been opened, there was naturally no need for them to continue fighting. The charming Empress of the Nine Nether Demonic Empress had also suffered a great deal of damage to her vitality, and she did not wish to continue fighting. Just like that, the two sides tacitly retreated. Phoenix King returned to its nest. He angrily searched for Su Yu and the others, but they were nowhere to be seen. What replaced it was the remnants of Coldfeather's blood on the white feather gate. A trace of blood had clearly passed through the giant door. They successfully opened the white feather gate and escaped. The Phoenix King finally understood and flew into a rage. That damned ancient god, Jiolong's successor. He deceived me again. He had set him up in the abyss, causing the Phoenix clan to suffer heavy losses. In the end, he clearly had the ability to open the white feather gate, but he kept it a secret. He had planned for the Phoenix and the Nine Serenity's demon to fight, and then he would calmly leave. However, even though he was furious, he couldn't do anything to Su Yu. As for the charming Empress of the Nine Nether Demonic Empress, for safety's sake, he led his people out of the abyss and reached the outside world. Protect me. I need to heal my injuries. The Nine Nether Demon Queen touched the wounds on her body, her expression ugly. Several powerful Nine Nether Demons immediately surrounded the Nine Nether Demon Queen. Time passed slowly, and the Queen entered a deep level of healing. Suddenly, from above the mine, hundreds of strong men appeared without warning. Each of them was holding a masculine object that could restrain the Corpse Clan. In particular, they all had a talisman that contained terrifying flames. The talisman contained extremely rich, boundless karmic flames. Once it was crushed, the boundless karmic flames would fall, burning the Nine Nether Demons into ashes. Even more frightening was that they had prepared an extremely large number of these talismans. Countless Nine Nether Demons had been ambushed in the sudden situation. The Nine Nether Demon Queen suddenly opened her eyes, her expression ferocious. How dare you? She immediately opened her mouth and released the unique song of the Nine Nether Demons, trying to control the ambushers. However, the group of people had obviously come prepared. They all had extremely precious soul defense artifacts on them. The Nine Nether Demon Queen's attempt was futile, and her heart bled as she watched the descendants she had painstakingly nurtured being killed one by one. All retreat to the abyss. The Nine Nether Demon Queen decisively took out the black feather door and opened the door to the ancient god realm of the Nine Nether. However, at this moment, a shadow that had been hiding beside the Nine Nether Demon Queen suddenly appeared. He cut off the Nine Nether Demon Queen's arm with a palm strike, and even cut off the small black feather door in her palm. At the same time, he snatched the black feather gate with lightning-fast speed. This person was so good at concealing himself that she hadn't noticed him at all, even though he had been so close to the Nine Nether Demon Queen for so long. Only now did he suddenly attack and snatch the black feather door. After he succeeded, he immediately rushed out of the mine and fled. The Nine Nether Demon Queen was shocked and roared angrily. After him! The black feather door was the foundation of her foundation, but it had been snatched away. Now that she thought about it, it was all a trap. Someone had secretly arranged for both the Nine Nether Demons and the Phoenixes to be injured so that they could reap the benefits and snatched the black feather door. The group of people who had suddenly attacked had deliberately forced the 9 Nether Demon Queen to take out the black feather door so that the hidden person could make a move. The 9 Nether Demon Queen was furious when she realized this. The Phoenixes and 9 Nether Demons, 2 great corpse races, had been played. The Phoenixes had been played by a human. The 9 Nether Demons had been played by an unknown force. All of the 9 Nether Demons charged angrily. Chapter 2562. But the group of people above the mine retreated as they fought, throwing down tens of thousands of seals to suppress them with the limitless karmic flames, giving the person in the shadows time to escape. The ordinary 9 Nether Succubi were suppressed to the point they could not move. Only the enraged 9 Nether Succubi Empress ignored the terrifying damage the flames caused to her body and charged out of the sea of fire. Die! She flew into the sky, leaving behind a trail of bloody mist. Dozens of people who were suppressed died on the spot. But she did not have time to care about the other ambushers, immediately chasing the shadow and taking back the black feather gate. Darren, be careful! The group of ambushers could not stop the 9 Nether Succubi Empress, and were worth warning. The 9 Nether Succubi Empress was unimaginably powerful, especially now that she was going all out. The shadow held the black feather gate and immediately crushed a spatial seal, instantly teleporting away. The 9 Nether Succubi Empress howled, turning into an afterimage as she chased. Half a day later, the shadow had already used 18 spatial seals. He was almost teleported to the vicinity of Tianqi Palace. However, the 9 Nether Succubi Empress did not give up, and the shadow that had used up all the spatial seals could not escape. You think I'm afraid of you? The latter tore off his disguise. It was not anyone else, but a tunnel master level expert of Shaohao sect. He took out a talisman of an unknown rank. That talisman was completely black and round, like a pitch-black eyeball. He placed it on his forehead, and his eyes suddenly shot out a black light that filled the sky. The black light covered the entire area in sight. The 9 Nether Succubi Empress could not avoid it, and stepped into the range of the black light. Her presence was visibly decreasing at a visible rate, and was no different from the Tunnel Master. Oomph. With a talisman personally bestowed by the Emperor, you think you can overturn the heavens? The shadow person shouted coldly. If the 9 Nether Succubi Empress did not chase, he would not be bothered to use this talisman. After all, the amount of time crystals it consumed to use each time was an astronomical figure. He felt especially pained. But the 9 Nether Succubi Empress did not know what was good for her. So what else did he have to say? Doppelganger domain, the shadow shouted, his body splitting into 9 at a visible rate. 9 became 18. 18 became 36. Within the span of 3 breaths, his line of sight was densely covered with the figures of the Dark Shadow Men. If you had the help of that group of 9 Serenity's demons, I would still be somewhat afraid of you. But since you've barged in, don't blame me for being ruthless. The thousands of Dark Shadow Men berated and attacked the 9 Serenity's demons together. Every attack was extremely realistic. However, only one of them was real, and the rest were fake. It was just that they couldn't tell. Even the demonic empress of the 9, Nether Demonic Empress, was solemn. She opened her throat and immediately began to chant. Her beautiful voice could instantly attack the souls of living beings. However, the shadowy figure in front of him only received a negligible influence, because all the clones shared the damage caused by the song. Seeing that her song was ineffective, the 9th Nether Succubus Empress let out a fierce roar. A black halo surged out from her body and swept in all directions. Swathes of Dark Shadow Men's clones were destroyed. However, the power of the halo was limited. After persisting for a while, it finally weakened. Taking advantage of this opportunity, a true attack mixed in with all the other attacks struck the 9 Nether Succubus Empress' head. Clang! The crown on her head fell on the spot. The 9 Nether Succubus Empress was enraged. With a sharp roar, she sprayed out large amounts of black water. In the blink of an eye, countless phantoms were destroyed. A shadowy figure clutching his arm retreated into the distance with a horrified expression. There were strong signs of aging on his body, a sign that his life force was declining. Damn it! The shadowy figure clenched his teeth, forcing out the black water that had drilled into his body through his pores. That was the water of the abyss, specialized in devouring life force. I want to see how much black water you can spit out. The shadowy figure forced himself to remain calm, once again displaying the doppelganger domain. The nine-nether succubus empress did not care about the cost, madly fighting. She wanted to snatch back the black feather gate. The two sides fought for several days, from the border of the Supreme One sect all the way to the territory of Enlightened Heaven Palace. Everywhere they passed, the earth was burned to ashes. The Eternal Mountain Range was completely swept away. Both sides were exhausted. The shadowy figure was inwardly shocked. This was because the nine-nether succubus empress cultivation had been forcibly suppressed to his own level. Otherwise, if they fought with true strength, he would have long been killed by the nine-nether succubus empress. But now it seemed that he had won. The abyss water within the nine-nether succubus empress body had long since been exhausted. Just now, he had suffered 9 consecutive fierce attacks from him, and his entire body was heavily injured. An incomparably dense death chi gushed out from his body. His terrifying battle prowess was already less than a third of his original strength. As long as he persisted for a while longer, he would be able to crush this nine-nether demonic empress. There's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. There's no gate to hell, but you insist on barging in. The shadowy figure gathered his strength, preparing to deliver the final blow to the demonic empress of the nine-nether demonic empress. Let's end this. With a loud roar, he used what little power he had left as a tunnel master to unleash a fatal attack on the nine-nether succubus empress. The ninth nether succubus empress gritted her teeth, and with a sweep of her tail, she retreated madly. It seemed like she knew that she was no match for him, and could only choose to retreat. However, it was too late to leave now. The latter's attack arrived with a loud rumble. The ninth nether succubus empress body was extremely weak, and she could only barely block it. The result was predictable. With a blood-curdling scream, half of the ninth nether succubus empress body was blasted to smithereens on the spot. She lay on the ground, barely breathing. She was on the verge of death. The dark shadow man gasped for breath, and the bead on his forehead flickered unsteadily. He was also exhausted, and no longer had the strength to continue fighting. That I lost its source of power and naturally dimmed. The black light between heaven and earth slowly receded. The dark shadow man walked in front of the ninth nether succubus empress and laughed strangely. In any case, you're the corpse clan of a tunnel master. You should be able to sell for some money. He bent down and grabbed the ninth nether succubus empress' neck. But at this moment, the dark shadow man's expression suddenly changed, and he suddenly turned his palm to attack behind him. At the same time, he shouted loudly, "Who is it?" Uffed! A sharp and powerful object directly pierced through his palm. Then a majestic and vigorous, profound way energy flowed along his palm and spread throughout his entire body, shattering him from the inside out. The dark shadow man looked down at his body and discovered in disbelief that a large part of his chest had disappeared. What disappeared along with it was the soul that had been instantly destroyed. His mind went blank, and his vision darkened. He immediately stood there motionless, unable to move. Someone as strong as the dark shadow man had been killed inexplicably. Behind him stood an expressionless bamboo hat person. She took off the bamboo hat, revealing an exceptionally beautiful face. That was none other than the baby's sister, who was being controlled by a thread of Su Yu's soul. She had been controlled by Su Yu's split soul, and had followed Su Yu back to the Supreme One faction. But the split soul had controlled her, and she did not move. It was only at this moment that she suddenly made a move. My guess was right. There's another show going on in this mine. The woman extended her hand and took the black feather gate from the dark shadow man's hand. Then she lowered her head and looked at the ninth nether succubus empress, who was about to die. Chapter 2563. Do you want to live? The woman asked. The demonic queen of the nine, nether demonic queen, forced her eyes open. When she saw the woman, A trace of confusion appeared in her eyes as she muttered, "This face seems familiar." Suyu narrowed his eyes slightly. The corpse race, from the many times he had interacted with them, did not have any memories of their previous lives. However, the charming Empress of the Ninth Nether vaguely remembered the corpse's face. It was clear how deep the dead woman's place was in the Demoness Empress' heart. However, Suyu's divided soul was not too surprised. The infant was so attached to the female corpse, and he even had the profound tomes of arcane with him. Was it strange that he had a high status? "Then, do you want to die?" Suyu's soul fragment asked again. Since she didn't answer, it meant that she didn't want to live. "Of course I want to live," the Ninth Nether Succubus Empress said. Suyu's clone laughed. "Release your soul and become my slave from now on. Then, I can save you." The demonic Empress gritted her teeth. She'd just left the ancient god domain of the Ninth Hell and escaped the shackles of eternal life. Yet she was going to become the slave of another? Of course she didn't want to. He would rather die than do so. However, in the face of this familiar woman, the Nine Nether Demonic Empress could not muster any resistance in her heart. It was as if she was already used to it in her previous life. "Yes, master." Even the way she addressed him was unusually adept. Suyu's divided soul was slightly surprised. The identity of the dead woman was really unique. However, being able to use the dead woman to subdue the demonic empress of the Nine Nether had already exceeded Suyu's expectations. The main body's instruction was to wait for an opportunity to obstruct Xiaohao. It turned out that before the Greater One sect was plunged into chaos, Suyu had issued an order to the divided soul. He asked him to come to the mine. At that time, although Suyu did not know what Xiaohao was doing, he knew that Xiaohao must have arranged a conspiracy in the mine. That was why he had his split soul wait here. As expected, Xiaohao had been plotting this for a long time. Like a mantis stalking a cicada, he seized the black feather gate that controlled the entrance to the ancient god domain of the Nine Nether. Suyu's divided soul naturally took advantage of the situation and obtained the black feather gate. As such, both the black and white doors had fallen into Suyu's hands. Not only that, but he had also successfully taken in the charming empress of the Nine Nether Demonic Empress. The split soul smiled and squatted down. "Follow me to see the main body. He has the ability to save you." The Nine Nether Succubus Empress injuries were no longer as simple as they seemed. She had already lost the ability to heal herself, and her split soul could not control the female corpse to use a large amount of Underworld Lord's power to heal herself. Therefore, he could only rely on his main body. Speaking of Suyu himself, he had been on the time ship for half a year. Along the way, he had thought of hundreds of plans to reach the ancient tomb, but every single one of them had a condition: the upper echelon of the evil cult. "It would be great if I could subdue someone like the demon faction elder," Suyu muttered to himself. With that kind of mission as a spy, all the plans had the possibility of being carried out. However, aside from Elder Howling Demon, who was the last among the evil cult elders, there was no one who did not know the level of a Tao Master. To subdue them was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. While he was deep in thought, Suyu heard some murmurs. "Don't you feel like we're going around in circles?" The masked man suddenly asked everyone thoughtfully. Everyone looked at each other, but no one answered. Apparently, only the masked man felt this way. "It's probably an illusion," a passenger said. "The time corridor is always the same, so it's very normal for you to feel like you're going in circles." "No." The masked man stood up slowly and looked at the back of the time ship. He gradually became serious. "I mean, our corresponding position has always been the same as it was a month ago. The time corridor was isolated from the outside world. Unless one had special abilities, they would not be able to see through the outside world. But the masked man could. 3 months ago, I felt the scent of the demon faction nearby. Even now, that scent is still there, so I think we should stay in the same place." The masked man said in a low voice. "Demon faction?" The passengers immediately panicked. The reputation of the demon faction was not pleasant. Suyu narrowed his eyes and secretly probed with the time domain. As a result, his face also became serious. "Please don't be alarmist. That's right. It's your first time riding the time ship. You must be too nervous. Everyone spoke one after another, causing the masked man to waver. Could it be that he was really worrying too much? Your senses should be right. Our time ship has stopped in the time corridor. Suyu's eyes flickered slightly. Hearing that, the masked man's eyes flashed. I knew it. My senses were right. Only then did the people on the ship begin to panic. If the time ship stopped in the corridor, didn't it mean that they would be trapped here forever? Creak, creak. Suddenly, a slight sound came slowly from the corridor behind them. The sound was like something was nibbling away at the corridor little by little. Yu Xiangwan's eyes flashed with blue flames as she looked behind her. Her face suddenly became extremely ugly. There's a worm gnawing at the time corridor, causing the entire corridor to temporarily stop. Sure enough, Suyu's eyes narrowed slightly. It should be Xiaohao's doing. Go. We can't stay here for long. Suyu was decisive and immediately slapped the time corridor. There was a cracking sound. A crack appeared on the wall. Everyone inhaled a breath of cold air. The time corridor is broken? That was something that the Time Master had condensed with the time domain. In theory, it cannot be destroyed by anything. But now, the scene in front of them had subverted their imagination. Creak! The gnawing sound behind them was getting more and more intense. A chaotic power of time was approaching. The masked man's face changed wildly. Damn Xiaohao, does he want to kill all of us? In the chaotic power of time, even the descendants of the Time Master might not be able to escape unscathed. That worm, as expected, was the time butterfly larva that the Time Master had personally cultivated. This worm could swallow the power of time, causing a period of blankness and causing time chaos. The consequence was that the creatures in the chaotic time were likely to be trapped in the time chaos forever, unable to escape. Forever like this, neither alive nor dead, until they were destroyed. Crack. On Suyu's side, he was also trying to bombard the time corridor. This was because his time domain had reached the intermediate level. Otherwise, there was nothing he could do about the time corridor. The chaotic power of time was getting closer and closer, and the entire time ship was spinning in place. Once the power of time swallowed the entire ship in them, they would be finished forever. From Suyu's perspective, he could see a dark light slowly approaching them. Pop! Fortunately, Suyu smashed the time corridor in time and led Yu Xiangwan and Home Master Miaoxiang to rush out. The masked man followed closely behind. The passengers hesitated slightly. Chapter 2564. The passenger hesitated and said, "The consequences of falling from the time tunnel are equally dangerous. If you are not careful, you will be taken to an extremely remote area." There was a rumor that someone accidentally fell out of the time tunnel. As a result, it took him 1,000 years to return to his hometown from the place where he fell. According to him, the place where he fell did not belong to the world of dreams at all. Then wait for your death here. The passenger behind him urged and leaped out. Almost as soon as he leapt out, the chaotic power of time rushed toward him. The flying boat and the passengers who could not leave in time were all swallowed up. They disappeared in the blink of an eye, as if they had never existed in this world. Back to Suyu and the other two. After jumping out of the time tunnel, each of them was disturbed by the power of time. Suyu was still able to stabilize himself and forcibly pull Yu Xiangwan and Home Master Miaoxiang. However, the two of them could not compete with it. The time difference between the time tunnel and the outside world was 10 times. Therefore, their figures were pulled away by the power of time little by little. In the end, Suyu was empty-handed and could not pull anyone. Boom! Then, with a huge roar, Suyu's feet landed and smashed into a sand pit. Looking up, there was a spinning vortex above his head. That should be the broken place of the time tunnel. He closed his eyes and immediately tried to sense, hoping to be able to contact Yu Xiangwan and Home Master Miaoxiang. In the end, he could not find them at all. He even tried to use the communication jade charm. The message could be sent out, but it could not be received for a long time. This could only mean one thing. They were already very far away from Suyu, so far that the message that could have been transmitted instantly could not be transmitted for a long time. I hope they are all right. The three of them were completely separated by the chaotic time difference. Bang! Right at that moment, another dull sound came from not far away from Suyu. Looking sideways, it turned out to be the masked man. He was dizzy from the fall. The clothes on his body and the mask on his face were all torn apart in the crazy time difference, revealing his dark body and the black wings on his back. Demon faction member. Suyu's pupils shrank slightly. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. He really did not have a good impression of the people of the demon faction. However, he wouldn't be able to live for long. Suyu was able to avoid being blown away by the time difference and land safely right below the time tunnel, because Suyu had mastered the time domain and could adapt to the time difference of 10 times. However, this person didn't have a time domain, yet he still dared to forcibly resist the time difference. In the end, not only were his clothes torn, even his soul was in chaos due to the time difference. Even if Suyu didn't do anything, he wouldn't be able to live for much longer. Save me. Just when Suyu was about to leave, the masked man said with great difficulty, I am the descendant of the demon faction's Elder Lang and Mo. If you save me, I will surely reward you handsomely. Successor of an elder? Suyu was astonished. No wonder this person was so generous with his money and was so afraid of Xiaohao checking his body. Such an identity was indeed too special. He rolled his eyes. He just so happened to need a high-ranking member of the demon sect to work for him. As the successor of Elder Wolfiend, his status was naturally not high enough. However, it might be a stepping stone for him to enter the demon sect. I can save you, but what are you prepared to pay? Suyu asked calmly. Let me make it clear first, I don't need the time crystals. I have more time crystals than you think. He had a pile of 9 Serenity's crystals in Cold Feather's space storage device. He really didn't need any time crystals. In order to survive, the masked man said weakly, everything. All right, as you wish. Suyu's palm circled a small lotus formed by the condensation of the 8 domains, and he inserted it into his forehead. A lotus mark flickered on his forehead for a while before slowly dissipating. There was a soul domain in the lotus mark, slowly repairing his chaotic soul. The masked man's eyes slowly regained clarity. He sat up and cupped his fist at Suyu. Thank you for saving me first. Suyu nodded indifferently. I have saved you as promised. Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise, Suyu said, looking at him. The masked man took out a space ring and took out a bag of money from it. He threw it in front of Suyu and said, 1 million time crystals, keep the change. There was a hint of playfulness in his eyes. I should have said that I am not short of money. Suyu stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking troubled. And you said very clearly that the price to pay is everything. The masked man said leisurely. After all, you are still young. A person can say anything in order to survive, but you can't believe everything. Understand? He waved his hand and said, the debt of saving my life is even. Farewell. I will take my leave first. Suyu stood calmly in the same place and did not chase after him. He just said indifferently, do you really think that I saved you just to save you? The masked man laughed. I know, you have placed some kind of seal on my body, but it is a pity that I am a member of the demonic faction, and my bloodline power is very powerful. Any foreign object in my body will be destroyed by the bloodline power. Is that so? So you said indifferently. The masked man laughed, and a loud roar came from his body, as if thousands of thunderbolts were descending at the same time. But his laughter stopped abruptly. What is it? What did you put in my body? The masked man's face turned pale. He had discovered that there was a strange thing in his body that was not moving at all. No matter how he attacked it with his bloodline power, it did not move in the slightest. So he did not speak. The masked man was shocked and angry, and his face was gloomy. Human, my identity is not something you can offend. Take that thing away now, and I will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, suddenly, the masked man let out a shrill scream. His body strangely reverted to the state of a 3-year-old child, then instantly grew back to his current form. He was like a dough that was being kneaded and deformed. The pain was unimaginable. After this happened several times, it finally stopped. He lay on the ground, his forehead covered in sweat. His face was filled with fear and lingering pain. Otherwise what? Suyu walked over and asked indifferently. The masked man yelled, "Human, are you really looking for—" Ah! Suddenly, he began to expand and contract, becoming bigger and smaller. Suyu sat at the side and watched silently. After an hour, the transformation stopped. The masked man was still fearful, and he shouted, "What did you do?" "Ah!" But as soon as he asked, his body began to transform again. This happened repeatedly. An entire day passed, and the masked man felt like he was dying. Every hour, he would experience the same kind of pain. Only after experiencing it countless times did he realize that something was wrong. Chapter 2565. Master, please instruct me. The boorish man didn't even dare to have the slightest bit of disrespect. Suyu sat down cross-legged and said, "Your name?" "Devil Marquis." "Master is Elder Wolf Demon." "Yes." "What are you doing in Beiming City?" "In the name of my master, I'm here to purchase 9 Serenity's crystals," the Marquis answered honestly. It was no wonder that he carried a large number of time crystals with him. It turned out that he used them to purchase netherworld crystals. Purpose: give it to the Saint City and exchange it for the Nightmare Crossing Lotus Throne. Suyu's eyes narrowed slightly. Bad luck crossing Lotus Seat? In his hand was a broken bad ridding Lotus Throne. This item was created by the great figures of the last great era. It could resist the destruction of the great era and avoid the disaster of the century. What kind of place is Sacred City? The location of the time sovereign. It was also the center of the time domain. All the sects and forces excavated the 9 nether crystals at all costs and handed them over to the Sacred City for the Nirvana Lotus Throne. In that case, why did the time sovereign ask for the 9 Serenity's crystal? The demon Marquis answered honestly. The form of the ruler of time is mysterious and unfathomable. How would we know? After a pause, the demon lord continued. However, the demon lord guessed that the time ruler might have handed over the abyss crystal to the 9-star civilization. Oh, why would a 9-star civilization need ancient god Jiuyu's Jiuyu crystal? The 9th hell crystal that was originally thought to be an ordinary or had now become a miraculous object that concealed a great deal of secrets. How unexpected. Let me ask you again. Where's the demon sect's ancient tomb? The demon lord raised his head and asked curiously, "Why are you asking me? Answer me." Suyu's gaze turned cold. The demon lord immediately said, "I don't know. Only the previous demon masters, as well as those who were responsible for escorting the demon masters into the ancient tomb. No." It was similar to what Jinyu had said, but there was something different. Who was responsible for escorting the devil lord into the ancient tomb? Jinyu had never mentioned this. 3 in total. They're the great elder, my master, and Elder Shao Mo. They were the 1st, 9th, and 10th elders. Suyu's heart thumped. If he could capture any one of them, he would have a chance to find the location of the demon sect's ancient tomb. He was deep in thought. Among the 3 elders, the 1st elder was negligible. Its strength had already reached an unimaginable level. It was unrealistic to try to get him. The most suitable candidate was Elder Shao Mo. Not only had this person tried to kill him many times, but he also had a grudge against him. His strength was also the weakest among the 10 devils. Great. So you finally had a clear plan in mind. How is your relationship with the 10th elder? The demon Marquis said, "They look harmonious on the surface, but they are actually fighting openly and secretly, especially between my master and Elder Shao Mo. The latter is a disciple that the demon lord has personally nurtured and entrusted with heavy responsibilities. Therefore, he is very dissatisfied with Elder Lang Mo, who is ranked above him. This time, both Master and Elder Shao Mo have sent disciples to the outside world to search for the 9 hell crystals. This is one of the reasons why they are competing. The demon lord has promised that whoever finds the most 9 hell crystals will be qualified to obtain a drop of divine demon blood." At the mention of the saint demon blood, the demon lord could not hide the deep greed in his eyes. The holy demon was the ancestor of all demons. it was born and how long it had existed was a mystery. He only knew that all the people of the demon sect were derived from the holy demons. A drop of holy devil blood, if used properly, could create another elder like Elder Shao Mo. So all the elders extremely cherished this opportunity, and all of them dispatched their capable subordinates to search for ninth hell crystals all over the place. How much did you find? Su Yu's eyes flickered. The demon marquis had a bit of pride on his face. I'm not talented, but I have some connections, so I have collected about 500,000 kilograms of 9 nether crystals. The lowest grade is 7th grade, and the highest is 6th grade. In total, it was worth at least tens of millions. There were indeed a lot of them. It should be known that the Devil Sect had plundered Sky City and the other major cities the last time, and the amount of netherworld crystals they had plundered was only a mere 20 to 30 million. It was indeed not easy for the Demon Lord to find so many. Only 1 million Gene? It's too little, Su Yu muttered. The Demon Lord was dumbfounded. Was 1 million Gene too little? He muttered to himself, does Master know the meaning of the netherworld crystal or not? How about this? I'll give you some 9 netherworld's crystals to ensure that you'll be safe this time and secure the first place, Su Yu said. The reason why he helped the Demon Lord was because he wanted to establish some sort of relationship with the demon sect. Only then would it be convenient for him to act. So he took out a bamboo hat and put on his head. He said, from now on, I am a merchant of netherworld crystals. Introduce me to your master. As he spoke, he took out another space storage device and said, I'll give you some first. Hold it well. The Demon Lord took it and said worriedly, Master, I'm afraid it won't work. The demon sect has always been secretive. How could they trade netherworld crystals with others so rashly? He felt that Su Yu was too naive. How could he think that the demon sect would trade with outsiders for just a few netherworld crystals? Using this to establish an equal relationship with the demon sect was just wishful thinking. As he thought of this, he subconsciously glanced at the space storage device. After taking it and scanning it, the Demon Lord cried out in surprise, 5th grade netherworld crystals. All of them are 5th grade. There are 5 million kilograms of them. 1 million kilograms of 5th grade netherworld crystals was worth at least 300 million time crystals. Even with the demon sect's enormous size, they wouldn't have so many netherworld crystals even after years of accumulation. I still need the netherworld crystals for the time being, so I can only give you a little. However, it should be enough to satisfy your master, Su Yu said. Satisfied? How could that old fellow not be satisfied? The Demon Lord said incoherently. Among the 10 elders, Elder Lang Mo's connections were relatively low. He was not even as good as Elder Shao Mo. He had never expected his own disciples to be able to find so many netherworld crystals. If all the disciples added up could gather netherworld crystals worth 50 million time crystals, he should be laughing with his hand over his mouth. Moreover, he had found as many as 300 million on his own. It would be strange if Elder Lang Mo was not surprised. Then, what else do you have to worry about? So you asked again. The Demon Lord laughed. Master, with so many netherworld crystals, I'm afraid the demon sect won't dare to treat you lightly. They will definitely treat you as a distinguished guest and treat you well. But the Demon Lord looked at the space storage device with some embarrassment and said, Master, can I discuss this with you? Speak. Change the grade of the netherworld crystals to something lower. They're all 5th grade netherworld crystals. It's too scary. I'm afraid even the Demon Master will be alarmed. No way. Why? Because the lowest grade I have is a 5th grade netherworld crystal. So you sighed helplessly. The Demon Lord was dumbfounded. He knew that there were many people in the world with amazing wealth. However, people like Su Yu, who could not even take out a piece of netherworld crystal below the 6th grade, and only had 5th grade and above, had never been heard of, let alone seen. All right. The Demon Lord was resentful and deeply sighed at Su Yu's wealth. At the same time, the hidden grievance in his heart faintly dissipated. It seemed that he had unintentionally followed an extraordinary super big shot. Lead the way to the demon sect. The Demon Lord nodded. Okay, Master, please. Suddenly, the demon lord turned his head and looked behind him, frowning slightly. That annoying guy is following us. Suyu did not look back, but he could feel a fairly strong demonic energy rolling from the horizon behind him. Haha, isn't this the demon lord? What a coincidence! A red-robed man, stepping on a demonic cloud, laughed maliciously. Just now, when they were in the time tunnel, the demon lord felt the aura of the demon sect nearby. It must be this red-robed, middle-aged man in front of him. The people of the demon sect were very sensitive to each other's aura. Thus, the other party also discovered that the demon lord was here. Not a coincidence at all. The Devil Marquis did not have a good attitude towards this person. The latter smiled as he sized up the demon lord. All of a sudden, he stared at Suyu and squinted his eyes. Elder Lang Mo's disciples are really getting worse and worse. You even started befriending lowly humans. The demon Marquis snorted coldly. Mo Chin, you'd better watch your mouth. Otherwise, a loose tongue will cause trouble. Although he did not know Suyu's true abilities, how could Suyu's abilities be weak, given that he had casually thrown out millions of dollars? The magic zither would suffer if it angered its master. Hee, I do want to bring some trouble to you, but you'll need to have the capabilities to do so first. Mo Chin was Elder Xiao Mo's disciple. Relying on Elder Xiao Mo's golden reputation, he did not put Elder Lang Mo's disciple in his eyes at all. Let's go. The demon lord did not want to pay attention to this person, so he led the way for Suyu. However, the magic zither was unwilling to give up. Let's do it together. He did not ask if the demon lord would agree and just followed him. Along the way, he kept beating around the bush, asking the demon lord how many 9 serenities crystals he had found. The demon lord only smiled without saying a word. He did not respond at all. This made the magic zither rather displeased. The three of them continued on their way and gradually entered a faction called the Dharmapath faction. The faction was full of Taoist practitioners. The two demons, the demon lord and the magic zither, swaggered into the faction. The Taoist practitioners along the way dared not stop them. There was even a hint of respect. They went all the way to the forbidden place of the faction, the training place of the faction master. An elder in a Taoist robe had been waiting there for a long time. I welcome the arrival of the two lords of the demonic faction, the elder in the Taoist robe said. Suyu looked over and could not help but be surprised. Wasn't the elder in the Taoist robe before him the one who had fought with Suyu for the spring water in Naming City? He really was from the demonic faction. Behind the elder in the Taoist robe, an incredibly complicated transportation spell had been activated. Suyu observed it for a moment and discovered that there was not only the power of space within the spell, but also a faint power of time. The two powers had to be used at the same time in order to reach the correct location. If someone who was unaware of the situation used the spell, regardless of whether the power of space or the power of time was present or not, the destination of the transportation would be different. The demonic faction was very cautious indeed. The three of them stepped onto the spell. Time and space changed. When Suyu reappeared, he found himself standing in the sky above a massive underground city. The people of the demonic faction were everywhere in the city. They lived and multiplied here, just like any other race. Chapter 2566. He wouldn't be at ease until he found out where the demon lord had found his savings. Although he looked down on the demon lord, he was still quite fearful of his abilities. The search for the 9 serenities crystals was related to the fight for the saint demon blood of the masters. Who would dare to bring their disciples with them? The demon lord cast a questioning look at Suyu. The 10 elders would go into seclusion regularly, so he couldn't see them now. What's the harm in taking a look at the demonic faction? Suyu smiled calmly. The demonic Chin glanced sideways at Suyu and warned him, "Human, the demonic faction is quite xenophobic. You'd better behave yourself." Suyu smiled without saying a word. The three of them entered the city. The demonic Chin stopped in front of a very grand restaurant. Powerful demons could be seen drinking and chatting in the restaurant. The words Demonic Cloud Cave were hung above a restaurant. "What do you think of this place?" the demonic Chin asked mockingly. The demon lord looked hesitant and embarrassed. The demonic cloud cave was the most famous money-squandering establishment in the demonic faction. Spending there once would cost at least 3 million time crystals. It wasn't something that disciples like them could afford easily. Most importantly, the demonic cloud cave had stopped accepting time crystals recently and was only used to collect 9 serenity's crystals. This made many people flinch. At that moment, Suyu's voice sounded in the demon lord's ears. Go ahead and spend as much as you want. I'm here, so you don't have to worry. The demon lord heaved a sigh of relief. With the rich man behind him, what couldn't he afford? Great, the demon lord laughed. I'm afraid you can't afford it. Obviously, the two of them intended to split the cost equally. The demonic Sheen was slightly taken aback. Since when did the poor demon lord have such confidence? The demon lord remembered the first time he came to the demonic cloud cave. He didn't know what was going on and didn't have enough time crystals. It was his master who came to pay for him with a livid face. For a moment, the demon lord became a laughingstock in the demonic faction. After so many years, the demon lord was traumatized by the sight of the demonic cloud cave. He thought the demon lord wouldn't agree. Unexpectedly, he was so confident that he even threatened to compete with him. The demonic Sheen was stunned and couldn't help but laugh. A bluff. Not bad. Hee, let's see how long you can last. The demonic Sheen laughed. The three of them entered. Without waiting for the zither to continue teasing him, the demon marquis sat down and shouted, Come, give me 3 pots of the demon cloud cave's best sky demon wine. The originally clamorous devil cloud cave immediately quieted down. Astonished gazes kept sizing up their table. The magic zither was stunned as well. He frowned and said, Demon Lord, this isn't a place for jokes. Since you've ordered it, you must buy it. Are you sure you want it? The demonic wine was the most expensive wine in the demonic cloud cave. 1 pot was worth 10 million time crystals. Over the course of a year, the magic cloud cave sold less than 10 pots. The demon lord wanted 3 pots in one go. It was too exaggerated. Moreover, the devil cloud cave was founded by the Grand Elder. Who dared to make fun of the devil cloud cave? Wasn't that courting death? With Suyu backing him up, the demon lord naturally had nothing to fear. Demonic zither, why are you regressing the more you mingle? Can't even afford a pot of wine? Looks like you haven't had a good time these past few years. The demon marquis taunted. How could the demonic Sheen admit that he was inferior to the demon lord? He said seriously, I'm doing this for your sake. The demon lord cut him off expressionlessly. Hey, don't say that for my sake. I have plenty of money. As for you, if you don't have enough money, you'd better leave. Otherwise, if you don't have the money to pay later, I'm afraid you'll have to ask your teacher to come here. The demonic Sheen had specially chosen this place. If he retreated now, he would become a bigger laughingstock. If someone like you can afford it, there's no reason I can't. The demonic Sheen braced himself. He had saved a lot of money over the years. It should be enough for a pot of demonic wine. Before long, the person in charge of the demonic cloud cave personally served 3 pots of wine. He said with a smile, a total of 30 million time crystals. In addition, our shop will only accept 9 serenity's crystals recently. That's all right. The demon lord laughed valiantly. We have plenty of money. The demonic Sheen squinted. He realized that he really couldn't understand the demon lord. A year ago, when they left the demonic faction to look for the 9 serenity's crystals in the outside world, the demon lord was still a pauper. It had only been a year, but it seemed like the world had turned upside down. Suyu sized up the so-called heavenly demon wine curiously. He was surprised to find that it contained a very rich energy. He tried to drink a mouthful, and the mysterious path energy in his body rose rapidly, showing signs of breakthrough. This was good stuff. Hence, he finished the pot of heavenly demon wine in one gulp. He had just broken through to the middle stage of nirvana, and he was showing signs of breakthrough. Another 10 pots. Suyu's voice was not loud, and it was very calm. However, this time, the demonic cloud cave fell silent. The demonic Sheen was infuriated. He slammed the table and bellowed, Human, you'd better behave yourself. This is not a place for you to mess around. 10 pots of heavenly demon wine. How dare he ask for it? If they couldn't pay up, the three of them would have to die here. The person in charge walked back and sized up the three of them with a suspicious look. Ordering 3 pots of heavenly demon wine was already the limit of an ordinary person. 10 pots was almost certain that the other party was looking for trouble. Are you sure you want 10 pots? So you did not say a word. He threw out a black stone. The person in charge fixed his eyes on it and was stunned for a moment. Then he said in shock, 3rd grade 9, Serenity's crystal? 3rd grade crystal was a level rarely seen in the world. 10 pots. Don't worry about money, Suyu repeated. The person in charge immediately turned from worry to joy. He personally delivered 10 pots of heavenly demon wine. Please enjoy, my dear guest. Suyu grabbed 3 of the pots and poured them into his mouth on the spot. When he drank the second pot, the mysterious Tao energy in his body reached its peak. He broke through the bottleneck and reached the late stage of nirvana. When he drank the third pot, the 800 Taoist marks in his body were all filled with the mysterious Tao energy. In terms of the mysterious Tao energy, Suyu was no less powerful than the early stage of nirvana. It was a pity that the more he drank, the worse the effect of the heavenly demon wine. By the time he finished the third pot, there was no obvious effect of improvement. The demonic Qin smiled and looked at the remaining 7 pots of heavenly demon wine on the table. With a push of his palm, he pushed 3 of the pots towards the magic zither. Your 3 pots. The demonic Qin's scalp went numb. 1 pot cost 10 million. Adding the pot in his hand, it was already 40 million. His own net worth was not enough to pay for it. Demonic Qin, if you want to die, don't drag me down with you. The demonic Qin certainly couldn't keep him company. Otherwise, he would really bury himself in it. He slammed the table angrily and rose to his feet. I'll pay for the first pot of wine. How about you find a way to return the rest? The demonic Qin chuckled. Return? Why should I return it? If you don't have money, you don't have money. If you're poor, just say it. You may not have money, but I do. He slapped a spatial storage artifact and shouted, Bill! The person in charge walked over again and said with a smile, Dear guest, the 3 of you have spent a total of 110 million time crystals. The demonic Qin pushed the space storage device over. Deduct it from the inside. The person in charge picked it up and scanned the contents. He was deeply moved. Dear guest, are you going to pay for everything, or are you going to pay for yourself? The demonic Qin said slowly, I'll pay for it all together. My friend here is too poor. I have no choice but to take care of him. Everyone looked at the demonic Qin, casting looks of envy and jealousy at him. That guy's really good at currying favor with people. Isn't he currying favor with a big shot now? Tis TSK, but he really has the nerve to ask someone to pay for 3 pots of heavenly demon wine on his behalf. The demonic Qin's face turned green and red. The ridicule he once gave to the Devil Lord was returned in one night. The demonic Qin paid 110 million with a smile. He stood up and patted the demonic Qin's shoulder. He said with a smile, You'd better not come to places like the demonic cloud cave next time. Otherwise, no one will pay for you anymore. After he finished speaking, he swaggered off. Suyu followed behind without batting an eyelid. The demonic Qin was too ashamed to follow the 2 of them anymore, so he left angrily. Of course, he didn't forget to take the 4 pots of heavenly demon wine on the table with him before he left. Master, my performance just now was too exaggerated. The demonic Qin was embarrassed when he came to a place where there was no one around. He had been following Suyu's instructions in secret, acting in an extremely exaggerated and sarcastic manner. Now that he thought about it, the demonic Qin felt nauseous. Those words and actions were too childish. He was like a foppish young man. It's fine. What I want is to cause a commotion. Only then will the elders show up as soon as possible. Suyu didn't have the patience to wait for the elders to go into seclusion. He wanted to act preemptively and startle the elders to come out. Let's go for a stroll. Having experienced a breakthrough in cultivation with the heavenly demon wine, Suyu was a little more interested in the demonic faction. He wanted to see if he could buy something that suited him in the demonic faction. Not long after, in a secret medicine shop, The shop sold secret medicine that was unique to the demonic faction. After consuming it, Xiandea Master's cultivation would be forcibly raised to a new level. However, the downside was that he would feel extremely weak afterward. How much is a bottle? 100,000 time crystals. You can also exchange it with 9 Serenity's crystals of equivalent value, the shopkeeper said. I'll buy it. Since he had decided to deal with Xiaohao, he naturally had to make every effort to improve his side strength. The secret medicine of the demonic faction was a good choice. It was only available in the demonic faction. It couldn't be bought in the outside world. How many bottles would you like to buy? All of them. Sir, you must be joking. I have 100 bottles of secret medicine. Only 100? That's too little. Suyu said, I'll buy all of them for 100 bottles. In the next few days, you can make more, and I'll buy more. In a demonic talisman shop. This kind, I'll buy all of them. And that kind, bring them all to me. In a demonic clothing shop. Except for the ones you're wearing, I'll buy all the clothes in your shop. Soon, the entire demonic faction city was in an uproar. Almost everyone was talking about the same thing. An outsider had come to the demonic faction, and he had countless 9 Serenity's crystals. He was buying things everywhere, and the entire demonic faction was almost emptied. That was because the amount involved was simply too enormous. All the elders who were in seclusion received paper-like messages, informing them of what had happened in the city. Even the royal family of the demonic faction had people sending messages. In the palace, Xiaoya was leaning on the table, calculating something thoughtfully. Suddenly hearing the news, she frowned. The human is buying things wantonly in the demonic faction? How wantonly? I heard that they've already spent more than 1 billion time crystals worth of 9 Serenity's crystals. Xiaoya was shocked. How much? 1 billion? Yes, little demon master. Xiaoya rolled her eyes. I'll go and have a look. A human wantonly spending 1 billion time crystals sounded incredible. Chapter 2567. However, just as Xiaoya was about to move, a gray-robed figure floated out. It was a person who only had bones left. However, his entire body was emitting a suffocating aura. He was Elder Bone Demon, ranked first among the 10 elders of the demon sect. Miss, the demon lord has ordered that you can't go anywhere right now. Elder Bone Demon said in a low voice. Xiaoya glared. Moo! Elder Gu Mo sighed softly. Miss, no one can disobey the demon master's orders. If you insist on charging out, then I can only use force to seal you and wait for the demon master to deal with you. Right now, Xiaoya was completely under house arrest. It turned out that the demon sect had long discovered that Emperor Xiaohao was about to launch a drastic change in the Greater One sect. At that time, it was very likely that the entire Greater One sect would be reduced to scorched earth. She was worried about Suyu, so she secretly led a group of demonic faction strong men to the Supreme One faction and waited for an opportunity to strike. Who would have thought that as soon as he moved, he would be detected by the demon lord and captured back? Enraged by Xiaoya's audacity, the demon master ordered her to be placed under house arrest. Without his permission, no one was allowed to step out of the palace. Just now, Xiaoya wanted to take the opportunity to go out, but unfortunately, she was stopped by Elder Bone Demon. A human of unknown origins is buying items from the evil cult with ill intentions. What intentions does he have? What hidden goals does he have? What schemes does he have? All of these are unknown. As the strongest elder in the evil cult, aren't you worried? I'm not worried. No matter how much Xiaoya talked, Elder Bone Demon was very calm. Xiaoya looked worried for the demon gate. Hey, the evil cult is facing a great calamity, and I can't do anything for the evil cult even if I wanted to. God, please open your eyes. Elder Gu Mo said indifferently. Little demon lord, take a break. Don't tire yourself out. Xiaoya glared fiercely at Elder Gu Mo and gripped her teacup tightly. You old bastard. Can you bear the consequences if that human causes a disaster? There's no need for me to bear the responsibility. The other elders have already rushed over upon hearing the news. Xiaoya was so angry that she couldn't speak. She waved her hand in annoyance. All right, let's go. Seeing that she couldn't escape, Xie Xiaoye completely gave up. In Demon Gate City, Su Yu and the Demon Lord were strolling around the city. But behind him was an entire street of people. The ground and the sky were filled with people. It's already 2 billion, right? Is this human trying to buy up the entire Demon Gate City? Damn, you're still in the mood to watch the fun? Hurry up and buy your daily consumables before he does. 30% of the daily necessities on the market have been sold out, and the prices of the remaining ones have skyrocketed. If you don't buy them now, you'll be starving. Because of Su Yu's crazy purchases, the prices of goods in the entire Demon Gate City had skyrocketed. Many of the daily necessities of the demon sect could no longer be bought even if they wanted to. In front of a very large shop, the Devil Marquis eagerly led the way. This is the most famous devil insect shop in the devil sect. There are many powerful insects, and the 10 famous insects are the most famous. I'll buy them all. So you said casually. The crowd immediately boiled over. Damn, they didn't even let the demonic insects go. What does he need so many demon insects for? Are you going to cook it when we get back? Damn, so what if you're rich? How can you buy things like this? I was wrong. It's really great to be rich. When he saw Su Yu take away all the top 10 demon insects and go to the next shop to buy more, the demon burst into tears. Su Yu came to the front of a demonic artifact hall and was about to go forward when a figure stopped him. Human, enough is enough. The silhouette revealed its true form. He was dressed in a black robe, and there was a wolf mark on his forehead. He was the 9th-ranked elder, Elder Lang M.O. Master. The Devil Marquis walked up and greeted him respectfully. Elder Lang M.O. stared at the Devil Marquis coldly. Why are you with this human? He had received news that a human had suddenly appeared and was buying goods in the Demon Gate, causing great chaos. Therefore, he came to investigate. The Devil Marquis lowered his voice and was about to say something when a few more demon elders rushed over. Among them was Elder Xiao M.O., who was ranked last. Human, how dare you disturb the Demon Gate? How dare you, human, create chaos in the Demon Gate? The few demon elders' tempers were obviously not good, and they scolded him as soon as they arrived. Su Yu's face was calm as he turned around and said slowly, If buying things is creating chaos, then I have nothing to say. Humph. Elder Xiao M.O. stood up and looked at Su Yu, who was wearing a bamboo hat. Do you think you have a lot of money? He was being sarcastic. Unexpectedly, Su Yu said calmly, It's quite a lot. Elder Xiao M.O. was stunned and snorted. Shameless boasting, but Elder Xiao M.O. did not continue scolding him because he really could not speak. Because Su Yu had taken out a 1,000-feet-tall hill and thrown it in front of the demonic artifact hall. He said, I want all the demonic artifacts inside. As for how much they're worth, you can dig them out from this hill yourself. That 1,000-jong tall hill was completely black in color. There is only one kind of black or among the 9 Serenities crystals, and that was the 3rd-grade 9 Serenities crystal. Moreover, it was 1,000 feet tall, and its weight was no less than 5 million pounds. Its value was immeasurable. The Demon Gate's 100 years of storage was not even enough for this hill. Most importantly, it was a 3rd-grade 9 Serenities crystal. Usually, the appearance of a fist-sized piece would alarm the entire southern region of the Dream-Broken Realm. But now it was as big as a 1,000-feet-tall mountain. Elder Xiao M.O. was so shocked that he could not speak. The other demon elders were shocked at the same time. How could there be such a huge 3rd-grade 9 Serenities crystal? Human, Mr. Human, may I know your name? Elder Lang M.O. stared at the giant 9 Serenities crystal mountain and swallowed hard. His previous fierce expression was gone, and he greeted Su Yu with a pleasant expression. You are? Su Yu pretended not to know, raising his brows as he asked. Elder Lang M.O. smiled and cupped his fists. I am the 9th elder of the demon faction. May I know your name? My surname is Su. Mr. Su, I have heard a lot about you. Elder Lang M.O. smiled. May I know if you are willing to exchange your 9 Serenities crystal for the time crystal? Hearing that, the other demon elders came to their senses. If they could get their hands on this 9 Serenities crystal mountain, The rest of them would not need to fight for the holy demon blood. No matter how many 9 serenity's crystals their disciples went out to look for, it would be less than 1/10,000th of what was in front of them. Mr. Su, I'm Elder Yin Mo, ranked 6th. I would like to discuss a business deal with Mr. Su. What do you think? Haha, I am Elder Guang Mo, ranked 5th. I would also like to discuss a business deal with Mr. Su. 5 or 6 elders rushed over together. As Elder Lang Mo, who was ranked at the bottom, he was naturally pushed to the back. He did not even have a chance to interrupt. Chapter 2568. Those demon elders were all ranked above him and had great power. He could not compete with them openly. Moreover, with his wealth, he was far from being a match for the other demon elders. Sigh. He could only sigh silently. However, he was not too disappointed. From the beginning, he knew that he had no hope of obtaining the holy demon blood. After all, there were several elders above him. Just as they were laughing bitterly, Suyu calmly said, "Everyone, I was invited by the demon lord to make a deal with his teacher, Elder Wolf Demon. Please allow me to make a deal with him first before anything else." Hearing this, several demon elders looked at Elder Lang Mo and the demon lord beside him in shock. Their eyes were filled with surprise. How did the demon lord know such a rich man who could rival the demon faction? Being stared at by so many elders, the demon lord's blood surged. He had never been so excited before. He was just a nobody, yet he had gained the attention of so many elders in the demon faction. This was something that had never happened in his life. Elder Lang Mo was overjoyed. He separated the elders and stepped forward, saying enthusiastically, "Mr. Su, please come into my abode." Hence, under the envious and worried gazes of the other demon elders, Suyu followed Elder Lang Mo into his personal cave abode. In his abode, there were 3 disciples cleaning up the mess. They looked at their usually arrogant and indifferent master in astonishment. Now, he was accompanying a human into the abode. "Mr. Su, please." Elder Lang Mo invited Suyu into the guest hall. The demon lord followed closely behind and was about to enter. A disciple stopped him and scolded him sternly. "Fourth junior brother, why are you so rude? Master is meeting a guest. Why are you following him in?" The demon lord subconsciously shrank his neck. The person in front of him was his eldest senior brother and the disciple that Elder Lang Mo valued the most. Usually, the 3 disciples, including the demon lord, were all in awe of him. Whenever the master was not around, the eldest senior brother would control them as their master. "Go and boil a pot of magic tea," the eldest senior brother ordered. He was very disappointed with the demon lord. He used to think that the demon lord was quite clever, but why was he so ignorant today? Master was such a respectful guest, and he dared to join the fun? However, at this moment, Elder Lang Mo turned his head and instructed, "Mo-chun, go boil a pot of demonic tea." Me? Eldest senior brother was a little surprised. Usually, Elder Lang Mo would hand over these miscellaneous items to the other 3 disciples. He would never order him around. What made eldest senior brother even more surprised was that Elder Lang Mo turned to Demon Lord and smiled. "Demon Lord, what are you waiting for? Coming quickly." The Demon Marquis regained his senses, smiled, and said to the Demon Marquis, "Dashi Xiao, please boil the tea well." With that, he entered the classroom with a smile. Mo-chun was left bewildered. What was going on? Master, who usually didn't like to smile, was actually so polite to the Demon Lord. In the guest hall, Suyu sat calmly. Elder Wolf Demon made small talk, but there was an irrepressible urgency in his eyes. He was only afraid that the other devil elders would use some tricks and cause him to lose the 9th hell crystal that he was about to obtain. "Mr. Su," Suyu waved his hand lightly. "I know what Elder Lang Mo is trying to say." As he spoke, he signaled the Lord Demon with his eyes. The latter took out a space storage device, which contained 1,000,000 9th hell crystals. "Master, when we first met, Mr. Su and I came to an agreement. Please have a look." Elder Wolf Demon took a look and was moved. "Thank you so much, Mr. Su." Suyu said indifferently, "It's a piece of cake." Elder Lang Mo felt much more at ease, but he was still worried. If Suyu made a deal with the other devil elders and gave them more ninth hell crystals, the advantage he had would be gone. Mr. Su, apart from buying the items you need, what else do you want from the demon faction? If there's anything I can help you with, this elder will be able to help a little. You want to get more ninth hell crystals from Suyu. Suyu chuckled and said, I'm afraid Elder Lang and Mo might not be able to help me. Why don't you tell me first? If I can help, I won't refuse, Elder Lang and Mo promised. He had to keep Suyu, the money tree, in his palm. Haha, I want to pay a visit to the Demon Master. Is that possible? Suyu's eyes flickered. Naturally, he could not mention the ancient tomb of the demon faction. That was the top secret of the demon faction. Who would dare to leak it? If Suyu mentioned it, Elder Lang Mo would immediately capture him and interrogate him, no matter how much he longed for the ninth hell crystals on Suyu. The demon master has been away for several years and has not returned. If you want to see him, I'm afraid no one can do it. Elder Lang Mo breathed a sigh of relief. No one could fulfill this request. It's fine if there is someone who can make the decision, Suyu said. Originally, his purpose was only to capture Elder Xiao Mo. However, after observing the resources of the demon clan, he found that many of them were extremely rare and useful to the outside world. Therefore, he wanted to make a big deal with the demon faction. With the demon faction's lack of ninth hell crystals, they should not refuse. This can be done, Elder Lang Mo said. Although the demon master is not here, there is the little demon master. In some aspects, the little demon master can also make decisions. After a pause, Elder Lang Mo hesitated. However, the little demon master's temper is a little strange. I'm afraid Mr. Su can't handle it. Oh, how strange could a successor of the demon faction be? Speaking of which, he had heard of this little demon master when he was in Nanming City. At that time, Emperor Starrain had put up a wanted poster for this person, but unfortunately, there had been no results. It doesn't matter. If you can arrange it, do it as soon as possible. If not, I will find someone else, Suyu said indifferently. Elder Lang Mo immediately said, Please rest assured that it will be arranged properly. Suyu nodded. If it is handled properly, I am very willing to make another deal with Elder Lang Mo. Hearing this, Elder Lang Mo was overjoyed. He immediately said, Mr. Su, please wait patiently for a moment. I will arrange it right away. He immediately stood up and instructed the demon lord, Take care of Mr. Su. After saying that, he immediately left. Only the two of them were left in the guest hall. Suyu smiled. Now, the other demon elders must be restless, right? They must be terrified that Elder Lang Mo had obtained the ninth hell crystals, which were far better than theirs, and had taken away the Earth Saint demon blood. Therefore, they would definitely take action later. Either they would snatch the ninth hell crystals from Suyu, or they would find a way to get in touch with Suyu. This was the demon faction, and they were in Elder Lang Mo's abode. They would have to consider their relationship with each other and would not use force. Therefore, it would be the latter, and Elder Xiao Mo would most likely be among them. At that time, Elder Lang Mo came to the palace as an elder and met Xie Xiaoya. Chapter 2569. However, since he had come, there was no harm in meeting him. Under the arrangement of Elder Lang Mo, Suyu entered the palace hall. Mr. Su, if the little demon master says anything unpleasant, please forgive him, Elder Lang Mo reminded him in advance. Suyu was puzzled. After all, he was a little demon master. Even if he was eccentric, there should be a limit, right? Did he have to remind him like this? It was as if the little demon master was so lawless. At that moment, a servant outside the door shouted, The little demon master has arrived. Elder Lang Mo immediately stepped forward to welcome him respectfully. Suyu also did the proper etiquette and stepped forward to pay his respects. Under his gaze, a woman with heavy makeup that was neither fish nor fowl slowly walked in under the respectful welcome of the maids. She wore a big red flower on her head, and her cheeks were especially red. Because the makeup was so thick, there was no beauty at all. Instead, she looked like a paper doll that had been burned for the dead. Suyu only took one look at her, and it stung his eyes. This woman was human from head to toe, so she must be from the royal family of the demon faction. However, he really did not dare to compliment her makeup. Suyu was not a person who judged people by their appearance, so he turned a blind eye to her and saluted her. "Greetings, little demon master." The little demon master's voice was gloomy. "Human, I heard that you are very rich." "Huh?" Suyu raised his eyebrows slightly. Why did it sound like this little demon master was up to no good? That tone, it didn't seem right. "Just a so-so," Suyu said calmly. "I'm here to make a deal with you, little demon master. I believe it will also be beneficial to the demon faction." The little demon master sat down slowly with the help of the servant girls and said calmly, "Tell me about it." Suyu did not say a word, but laid out a list. On it were the special demon faction products that he had taken a fancy to when he was shopping. It was very useful for arming his own strength. However, the stock on the market was very small. Only by seeking cooperation with the demon faction's royal family could it be possible to buy them in large quantities. The little demon master glanced at it, and his eyelids could not help but twitch. The items listed on the list were worth at least 10 billion time crystals of the 9 underworlds. This was an unimaginably huge number for the demon faction. The highest value of the 9 nether crystals that the demon faction had ever stored was only 5 billion time crystals. 10 billion. That was an unimaginably astronomical figure. Especially as the end of the era approached, all the powers were scrambling to find 9th Hell crystals to exchange for the grievous crossing Lotus Throne. Because of this, the netherworld crystals would become increasingly difficult to find. The 10 billion in front of him was definitely a great opportunity that came knocking on his door. If the Devil Sect was here, they would definitely buy so many 9th Hell crystals at all costs. The little Devil Lord rolled his eyes and appeared very calm. "Sure." Suyu heaved a sigh of relief. This little demon master didn't seem to be as strange as Elder Lang Mo had warned him about, apart from his unflattering makeup. "How long will it take to prepare the list?" Suyu asked. The little demon master calculated and said, "It won't be later than 10 days, and it won't be earlier than 3 days. In the meantime, you can play around in the Demon Gate at will, including the palace." He had given Suyu extremely generous terms. Between 3 to 10 days? Suyu was quite satisfied, as it was within his estimation. "All right, I will collect the goods within 10 days. Suyu immediately stood up and took his leave. The negotiation went more smoothly than expected. The little demon master, who Suyu had thought would be very difficult to deal with, didn't even have the slightest intention of bargaining. After Suyu and Elder Wolf Demon left, the little demon master revealed a strange smile. He then plucked the eye-catching red flower on his head and said helplessly, "I'm really going all out. Even with this kind of makeup, I'm still willing to come out and meet people." She wiped off the thick layer of makeup on her face, revealing her beautiful and flawless face. But she placed her index finger on the corner of her mouth and looked at Suyu's back as he left. Then she said leisurely, "You may have to suffer a little, human." Suyu returned to Elder Lang Mo's cave residence. Suyu dismissed the people around him and began to ponder. That little demon master must have other plans, right? Suyu thought about it and felt that the other party's attitude didn't seem to be about business. That was why the transaction had gone so smoothly. If that was the case, he had to make plans early. Sitting cross-legged, Suyu checked the things he had on him. In addition to the small Kylan, he still had the heaven-destroying seal and the feathers on the white feather gate to protect himself. The heaven-destroying seal and the small Kylan would be used last. Using force in the demonic faction was an extremely unwise thing to do. It should only be used as a last resort. The white feather, on the other hand, contained a strong defensive power and was the best choice for self-defense. Knock, knock. Once everything was ready, he prepared to go into seclusion for a few days and wait for the transaction. However, there was a knock on the door. "Mr. Su, it's me." That voice seemed to belong to Elder Lang Mo's eldest disciple, Mo-chun. "What's the matter?" Suyu asked calmly. He had nothing to say to this person. "Mr. Su, can you let me in to talk?" His voice was very low, and he seemed very cautious. Suyu was surprised. There seemed to be something wrong with this person. Rolling his eyes, Suyu waved his hand to open the seal and let him in. After Mo Chun entered, he closed the door and said respectfully, "Mr. Su, thank you for meeting me. If you have something to say, just say it," Su said calmly. And Mo Chun carefully took out 2 sealed letters. "Mr. Su, please have a look." Su rolled up his sleeves and opened them. They were the handwritten letters of the elders who ranked 5th and 6th. It turned out that, just as Su had expected, they had tried everything to get in touch with him. However, due to Elder Lang Mo's strict security, they had been unable to succeed. It was only when Elder Lang Mo accompanied Su to the palace that they found an opportunity. They had paid a hefty price to bribe Mo Chun. They had asked him to pass the letter on their behalf. After reading it, Su's eyes were calm. He accepted the letter and said, "Tell them that I will consider it." These 2 people were not his target. What he wanted was Elder Xiao Mo. However, Elder Xiao Mo was extremely vigilant and had not made a move yet. However, Su believed that he would make a move sooner or later. After all, no one would not be tempted by such a huge 9 Serenities crystal. Coincidentally, Elder Xiao Mo was an insatiably greedy person. Su believed that he was just observing. After receiving the reply, Mo Chun quietly went to a remote area in the city. There were Elder Guang Mo and Elder Yin Mo's disciples. Mo Chun, what did Mr. Su say? They asked expectantly. Mo Chun shook his head regretfully. Mr. Su only said that he would consider it. The 2 disciples were extremely disappointed. In the letter, their master had proposed generous terms for Su. They had not expected Su to be dissatisfied. What is that Mr. Su thinking? Elder Guang Mo's disciple sighed bitterly. Mo Chun laughed self-mockingly. You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask? That kind of high and mighty figure. Every word and action is carefully thought out. How can I guess? The 2 disciples thought about it and felt helpless. Then, how did Mr. Su deal with the letter? Suddenly, another disciple walked out from the shadows. Chapter 2570. The demon glanced at him, snorted, and didn't reply. Everyone knew about the grudge between Elder Xiao Mo and his master. What right did he have to answer the demonic zither for no reason? Big Brother Mo Chun, this is just a small token of appreciation. Please accept it. Mo Chun immediately took out a small bag of 9 abyss crystals. The latter opened it and took a look, only then did a warm expression appear on his face. He said, "I didn't do much with it. I just kept it in my bosom." After listening, the magic zither fell into deep thought. He took out a small bag of netherworld crystals and handed the letter to Mo Chun. "Then I'll have to trouble Big Brother Mo Chun to deliver my letter as well." Mo Chun snorted unhappily. "Wouldn't it have been better if you had sent it to me just now? Do you know how much risk you'll be taking if you make another trip?" Hee, Big Brother Mo Chun. Let's take a look at the contents of this money pouch first. When Mo Chun opened it, his expression changed drastically. Inside the pouch, there were 2,000,000 time crystals. He put away the money bag and said, "All right, then I'll make another trip." Watching him leave, the demonic Chin sighed helplessly. "This is Master's will. There's nothing I can do about it." As it turned out, Elder Xiao Mo had instructed the magic zither to remain calm and observe Mr. Su's reaction after the other elders' letters were delivered. If he returned the letter or threw it away, then his handwritten letter would not need to be sent out. If he accepted it and didn't explicitly reject it, then he would send it over. That was why the scene before them happened. Soon after, a letter appeared in Su's hand. It was written in Elder Xiao Mo's own handwriting, and he was willing to purchase the 9 nether crystal from Su with the time crystal at a price that was 30% higher than the market price. He would buy as much as they sold. You sure talk big. Su said in front of Mo Chun. However, to make a deal with the royal family, I don't have many 9 Serenities crystals left. If Elder Xiao Mo is willing, we can make another deal after I have obtained enough 9 Serenities crystals. Mo Chun immediately returned and conveyed Su's original message. The demonic Chin heaved a long sigh of relief. Master is the best after all. You actually succeeded. A few days later, Su, who was in seclusion, stood up abruptly and struck the space in front of him with his palm. The terrifying power of the profound way, which was close to the early stage of Nirvana's circle, caused a deep crack to appear in space. "I've finally stabilized my cultivation," Suyu said in satisfaction. It was time to prepare to break through to the Nirvana stage. Just like breaking through from light Nirvana to intermediate Nirvana, normal cultivation required a long period of accumulation. He had to use a special item to break through the barrier between realms. "Mr. Su, the royal family is here," Elder Wolf Demon reminded from outside. Suyu was surprised. It was only the 4th day, right? That little demon lord was very efficient. "Let's go." Suyu stood up, while a cold glint flickered in his eyes. That little demon lord had better not have other plans. Otherwise, he might not care whether he was a great demon lord or a little demon lord. He arrived at the Imperial Palace once again. He appeared in a spacious hall. Inside, the floor was already neatly covered with space storage devices. There was an item on the list in each of the spatial storage devices. The little devil lord was already sitting calmly in the main hall. When he saw Suyu coming over, he said calmly, "Human, everything is ready. Take out your money." Suyu's eyes flickered. "I want to check the goods first." "Whatever," the little devil lord said indifferently. Suyu grabbed a space storage device and checked it. His face darkened. "What do you mean by this?" This space storage device contained a kind of secret medicine that could temporarily enhance one's cultivation. He needed a total of 10,000 bottles on the list, but among them, only 100 bottles were real. The rest were empty. "It means what you see," the little devil lord said rudely. "You have checked the goods, so give me the money." How was this a transaction? It was clearly robbery. Suyu surveyed his surroundings. Although he did not have a clear perception, there must be an absolute strong person nearby who was staring at him. If he made any bad moves, he would immediately attack and kill Suyu. Therefore, Suyu calmed down and said slowly, "Little devil lord, if you do not mean to trade, then forget it." There was no reason for him to buy something that was seriously short of weight with such a high price. He had expected that the little devil lord would use forceful means to force him to pay up. Unexpectedly, the little devil lord said indifferently, "If you don't want to buy it, then don't buy it." "Are you afraid that my demon faction's things can't be sold?" What was going on? Crash. Suddenly, a figure full of bones appeared. He was not a bystander. It was the great Elder Guillermo. He grabbed a few space storage devices and scanned them. He said with a slight reproach, "Little devil lord, there are enough goods in the demon faction's warehouse. Why don't you take them out?" The demon faction had reserves all year round, and the things that Suyu needed could be completely satisfied. However, the little devil lord had agreed to the transaction, but deliberately made a situation where the goods were short of weight. She was not going to force him to buy or sell. What was she trying to do? "Father is not here, so I am in charge. I will sell as much as I say," the little devil lord said. The great Elder Guillermo was a little angry. Such a large business was crucial to the future of the demon faction. If it was successful, he might be able to raise enough money for the evil crossing Lotus Seat. If the demon lord was here, he would certainly make this transaction happen at all costs. After a pause, the great Elder Guillermo lowered his voice and said, "If the little devil lord is distressed about the goods, then..." He gave him a fierce look. He meant to rob. Anyway, robbery was a common thing in the demon faction. The little devil lord slammed the table and shouted, "Presumptuous! Our demon faction is a place of honor. How can you rob openly?" The word could be heard by the whole hall. The great Elder Guillermo was embarrassed. What was the little devil lord doing? She finally looked at the human race and said, "Human race, I have changed my mind. I don't want to trade with you anymore. Now, please leave the demon faction." The little devil lord's idea was very simple. She wanted to destroy the great plan of the demon faction. She wanted to see if her father would dare to keep her in the demon faction. That was why the scene in front of them was happening. Suyu frowned slightly. He could see that the little devil lord was doing this on purpose. What a waste of time and feelings. He had waited for 4 days in vain. In the end, the other party did not have the intention to trade at all. This willful little devil lord. However, in front of the great Elder Guillermo, Suyu naturally could not do anything out of line. If that is the case, then I will leave. So you said calmly. Unexpectedly, the little devil lord said, Wait, what is it? The little devil lord said indifferently, Spit out all the things you bought in the demon faction. Of course, I will also return all the 9 serenities crystals you spent. What? The great elder Guemo was furious. So you had spent 2,000,000,009 serenities crystals, and now he was returning them all? Chapter 2571. If she didn't want to continue the transaction, so you could somewhat understand it. After all, she probably had her own reasons for doing so. However, Suyu wanted him to return the item that he had bought. It was simply humiliating. After this incident, who would dare to trade with the demon sect in the future? Suyu even wondered if he had unintentionally offended the little demon master. Otherwise, why would the little demon master be so aggressive? Little demon lord, I advise you to think twice before you act. This was obviously not beneficial to the demon sect's actions. If the demon lord found out about it, he would definitely punish him. The little devil lord's eyes hardened, and the big red flower on his head trembled. She narrowed her eyes and said slowly, Human, I should be the one advising you. Follow my orders immediately and don't provoke me. Suyu looked at her deeply. He did not have a good impression of the entire demon faction. It was fine if the dignified little devil lord went back on his words, but he was still so domineering and unreasonable. All right, I'll return it to you. Suyu's eyes shone brightly, and he threw a space storage artifact back. Elder Guemo sighed and caught it. After checking it and confirming that there were no problems, he passed it to the little demon master. Although he was very angry at the little devil lord's unreasonable actions, he did not forget his duty to protect the little devil lord. The little demon master played with the spatial storage device and raised his chin. Give it to him. Left with no other choice, Elderbone Demon could only head to the Imperial Treasury and take the few Netherworld crystals within it. When the Demon Lord returns, he will definitely be furious. Little Demon Lord is really too willful this time, even worse than running away from home back then. Bone Devil Elder said with a sigh. Suyu took his space storage artifact and immediately took his leave. He did not hesitate in the slightest. The entire Demon Gate was in an uproar because of this. Nonsense. What nonsense? Little Devil Lord is treating the future of the demon sect as a joke. The one with the most intense reaction was Elder Xiao Mo. His cooperation with Su Yu had just begun to take shape, yet the little demon master had acted so recklessly and driven him away. Elder Wolfian's face was ashen. Ridiculous. The 9 Serenities crystal is related to the demonic sect's exchange for the Nirvana Lotus Throne. It determines the life and death of the demonic sect. How can she mess around like this? Not only did he not want to cooperate, he even wanted to return all the money Mr. Su had spent on the Demon Gate. It would be strange if the Demon Lord was not furious when he returned. The demonic elders were like this, and the common people were also like this. The Imperial family was demanding back all the 9th Hell crystals that they'd obtained from the merchants that had benefited from it, and for a time, the Imperial family was filled with complaints. What little devil lord is she? Instead of doing proper business, you're fooling around all day. Why don't we just leave her outside? There's no need to call her back. As the saying goes, cutting off one's path to wealth is like killing one's parents. The little devil lord's actions had not only cut off their source of wealth, but he had also snatched back the wealth that was already in their hands. How could he not be hated? However, no matter how angry the people were, no one could do anything to the little devil lord. Elderbone Demon sighed incessantly. Only the little devil lord had a complacent look on his face. She wanted to turn the devil gate upside down and see if the devil lord would still dare to keep her in the devil gate. AI, poor Mr. Su, he came here in vain. The little devil lord said with a smile. All of a sudden, the spatial storage device in his hand shattered with a cracking sound. An extremely well-hidden time domain surged out without any warning. Both of them, including the little demon master and Elderbone Devil, fell into a state of time freeze at the same time. Suyu, who had left, had strangely returned. He stared at the little devil lord and said coldly, It's not your fault that you are ugly. but it's wrong for you to come out and do evil." As he spoke, he stepped forward and kicked her to the ground. At the same time, he took away everything on her body, including the spatial storage device that he had taken back, as well as the little devil lord's own spatial storage device. After doing this, he immediately used the time domain to escape. This was because the Elderbone Devil had reacted and used his powerful cultivation to forcibly break through the blockade of the time domain. Little Devil Lord, be careful. Bone Devil only had time to support the Little Devil Lord, but he was unable to stop Suyu from escaping. When the time domain ended, the Little Devil Lord also woke up. There was an obvious pain in her chest, causing her to rub her chest subconsciously. Only then did she realize that the spatial storage devices on her body were all gone. Is it that human? Although time was frozen, the Little Devil Lord's thoughts were still there. For a short time, she did faintly feel that someone had done something to her. She was shocked and angry. No wonder the other party had returned the spatial storage device so easily. It turned out that an unknown trick had been done inside, and even the great Elderbone Devil did not notice it. Chase after him. The Little Devil Lord scolded, and there was real anger in her expression. She was not angry that she had been schemed against, nor was she angry that the secret medicine of the demon faction, which was worth 2,000,000,009 Serenities crystals, had been stolen. She was angry that he had stolen a spatial storage device that contained something extremely important to her. The Elderbone Devil was also angry. In front of him, he had hurt the Little Devil Lord. This human was too bold. There is no need to chase after him. So far, no one has been able to escape from the demon faction. The Elderbone Devil snorted. Little Devil Lord, you stay in the palace. Don't leave even half a step. I will be back soon. With the strength of the great Elderbone Devil, it was only a matter of time before he caught up with Suyu. Once he caught up, Suyu would die without a burial place. After saying that, the Elderbone Devil flashed away. With the strength of the royal family, there was no need to worry about the safety of the Little Devil Lord. The Little Devil Lord sat in the yard angrily. "Human, you have angered me." However, just as the words left his mouth, an icy cold voice rang out in his ears. The same words, "I will return to you." Suyu, who had clearly escaped, had not left at all. How could he not know that it was impossible for him to escape from the demon faction by himself? Therefore, he had adopted the strategy of luring the tiger away from the mountain, lurking and subduing the Little Devil Lord. The Little Devil Lord reacted quickly. When she heard that something was wrong, she immediately crushed a defensive talisman and asked for help. However, Suyu was prepared, and a space domain froze her from head to toe. Then, in front of the Little Devil Lord's surprised eyes, he carried her on his shoulder. "Human, do you know what you were doing?" She never dreamed that this human would have the courage to kidnap her. Didn't he know that she was a descendant of the demon faction? Kidnapping her was tantamount to becoming the enemy of the entire demon clan. "I know. I will exchange you for a reward." Hadn't the Empress Star Rain been searching for the Little Devil Lord? He hadn't seen the Empress for several years, and now he had kidnapped the Little Devil Lord as a greeting gift. "You are finished. No one could save you." The Little Devil Lord wanted to cry. Things should not have turned out like this. She had imagined that she had angered the human clan and delayed the demon faction's important matters. The demon master would have driven her away in anger. Being kidnapped was not part of the plan at all. At this moment, the Little Devil Lord wanted to cry, but had no tears. Suyu kidnapped the Little Devil Lord, rushed out of the Demon Gate City, and arrived in front of the formation. How could his abnormal behavior be hidden from the powerful demon elders? In particular, the number 1 elder, Guemo, who was the first to arrive. He was shocked and angry. "Human, let go of the Little Devil Lord. If you hurt him, you will." Suyu calmly pinched the little demon master. The Little Devil Lord gasped in pain and said fiercely, "You almost pinched a piece of my flesh." Suyu looked at the elder Guemo and shrugged. "See, there will be no consequences." The elder Guemo did not dare to come forward. If Suyu did something out of line, the Little Devil Lord would be in danger. "So, let's be straightforward. Let me go, and I can guarantee the little devil lord's safety for the time being. Otherwise, she will die now. So you said. At this moment, the little devil lord wanted to die. What the hell was going on? Chapter 2572. Elder Gumo's expression changed again and again, thinking that he had been careless. The human in front of him was simply too cunning. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would fall into his trap and be captured by the little demon lord. If something happened to the little devil lord, the devil lord would find it hard to forgive him. Thus, after weighing the pros and cons in his heart, Elder Bone Demon waved his hand and activated the time and space formation. It will bring you back to where you came from. Remember not to hurt the little demon lord, otherwise you will definitely regret it. There was only one little devil lord in the devil sect, and he was also the only successor of the devil sect. If the little demon master met with misfortune, even if Su Yu was the descendant of the time master, the demon faction would seek revenge at all costs. Su Yu smiled faintly. Thank you. He had never thought of hurting the little devil master. He just wanted to bring him back. With a leap, he stepped into the formation with the little demon master. After experiencing the transformations of time and space, he successfully returned to the Taoist sect. Before the people inside could react, they immediately grabbed the little devil master and fled. When Elder Gu Mo and many other elders came out, the little demon master and Su Yu were nowhere to be seen. Immediately send an order to all the demon sect to search for the little demon lord. Elder Guang Mo hesitated and asked cautiously, Grand Elder, is this really fine? The devil lord seems to be coming back soon. With such a big commotion, he will definitely know that something has happened to the little devil lord. Elder Gu Mo's face sank. I will take responsibility for this matter alone, but we must search as soon as possible. The young demon master's safety is above all else. With one order, the countless branches of the demon sect received the same order. Find the little devil lord. The order did not mention the little devil master's current situation, so it was misunderstood, and the little devil master fled again. It was a pity that the tearful little devil master was being kidnapped and taken south. When they arrived at a deserted ancient city, Su Yu stopped to rest and replenish his energy. Hey, death human race, don't go too far. I'm not trying to harm you. The little devil lord's body was covered with sealing runes, lying on the ground like a block of wood. Only the mouth could move. Su Yu's expression was calm as he said, Initially, I didn't want to do anything to you, but you kept forcing me. So, I had no choice but to teach you a lesson. As he spoke, Su Yu searched through the little demon master's space storage device. As the little demon lord, her spatial storage device should not be lacking in demon sect specialties. True enough, after a brief exploration, Su Yu was extremely satisfied. The richness of the specialties inside was comparable to the various items that Su Yu had bought with 2,000,000,009 Underworld's crystals previously. Not bad. He didn't take the risk for nothing. Su Yu was quite satisfied with the little demon master, who was a fat sheep. Suddenly, Su Yu raised his eyebrows. He was a little confused. With a thought, a small wooden barrel appeared in his palm. Inside the wooden barrel, there was only a thin layer of colorful liquid. So you could not be more familiar with this object. It was the evil spring that he gave to you, Xiangwan and Xie Xiaoya. The evil spring could raise the level of a domain, which was very useful to the two of them. How could the little devil lord also have an evil spring? Moreover, there was an identical little wooden barrel. So he was not worried about Yu Xiangwan's evil spring, as he had seen her consume it with his own eyes. How did Xie Xiaoya's item end up in your hands? Su Yu's eyes became gloomy as he stared at the little demon master. The little demon lord was startled, his eyes turning as he thought to himself, Does this person really know my real name? Could it be that he has seen me before? Her name was only known to a few demon elders. Many people in the demonic faction did not know her real name and only called her the little demon master. Yet, Su Yu knew her real name so easily. This surprised the little demon master. However, to be cautious, she did not admit it. Humph, what's Xie Xiaoya? I don't know her. Su Yu's eyes became colder and colder. Xie Xiaoya was from an 8-star civilization, so her background should be very weak, right? He was very worried that the news that Xiaoya had obtained the evil spring would be leaked, which would lead to a fatal disaster. Perhaps this matter was not done by the little demon master, but it was possible that it was not done by her subordinates in order to claim credit. As he thought of this, his heart tightened. He continued to search the little demon master's storage space, his eyes becoming gloomy little by little. This was because he kept discovering more things about Xiaoya, even the clothes that she usually wore and so on. Speak. Where is Xiaoya? So you grabbed her by the neck and shouted coldly. Even her daily necessities were obtained by the little demon master. It was obvious that Xiaoya was very likely to have been harmed. The little demon master was trembling with anger. Had she ever been so cowardly? Human, don't force me. The little demon master clenched her teeth. She was obviously angry. Suyu's eyes were full of cold light. Speak. He involuntarily used more strength, and his palm gradually tightened. The little demon master snorted coldly, and a rich demonic energy suddenly gushed out of her body. She was originally in the form of a human, but a pair of golden wings suddenly appeared on her back. Ordinary devils, even the elders of the devil race, only had black wings. Only the little demon master had golden wings. The clothes on her body were also torn apart, revealing a perfect golden body. The runes that were suppressing her body began to tremble and shake off one by one. Those runes could no longer suppress her. You want to resist? Suyu pointed his finger, and the time domain bloomed and touched her body. However, the frozen time domain was forcibly bounced off by the reverse flow of the demon royal blood. Open! The little demon master growled. She waved her wings, and a golden storm suddenly appeared, forcing Suyu to retreat. The runes on her body were also completely swept away. This time, the little demon master was completely free. Her figure turned into a residual shadow, and she blasted towards Suyu. A majestic and terrible power was faintly approaching the early stage of nirvana. Suyu snorted lightly, and in the palm of his hand, the power of the mysterious path gathered, and it was not inferior to the early stage of nirvana. Bang! The moment the two collided, the world trembled fiercely. The mountains in the distance all collapsed. The densely packed forest all fell to the ground. The golden figure of the little demon master retreated, and her face was solemn. It is not easy for a human to cultivate to this level. Put down my things, and I will spare your life. She actually intended to let Suyu go. Those things do not belong to you. Suyu's eyes were cold, and he took a deep breath. 2 hourglasses of time appeared above his head. Those things belong to my friends. As his voice fell, the time domain was suddenly launched. The little demon master tried her best to resist, but under the medium-level time domain, it was difficult for her to be completely immune. Her movements were obviously much slower. Her golden eyes widened little by little, and her eyes were flashing with surprise. The human in front of her seemed to be saying that Xiaoya was his friend. Wait a minute, the little demon master said. However, in the time domain, she spoke very slowly. Before she could reveal her identity, Suyu slapped her chest. Clang!